5:31 for the start. There is nobody signed up for public comment. Item 2, purpose of the meeting.
Yeah, so talk a little bit here about what we are going to be discussing tonight. So tonight is a work session, means the board does not take any action. There's no votes on anything. It's just an open discussion about finances tonight. First part of the meeting, I'm just going to take you really quickly. Some of this is going to look familiar because it's basically what we talked about in January when we did the Board of Finance meeting, but I want to remind everybody kind of where we are with our funds. And then, unless the board wants to do something different, I was going to jump right in to discuss ideas that have been put forth through a few meetings of ideas of where we could maybe save some cost. Like I said, no decisions made tonight. It's just starting to talk about some ideas there. So with that, I think we can jump right into the first part of the presentation there. There you go. So this is a chart we've shared with you before. Just shows our three main funds and where we've been over the years. As you can see, starting from 22 downward, we're heading in a direction we don't want to head in. So starting in 23, you can see the education ops funds are starting to get smaller and smaller. Let's go to the next one. There's our 26 approved budget. As we always talked about, a rainy day, we always put there, ask for a certain amount of appropriation in case we need to use it. We can always ask for more if we need to. We're approved to spend $500,000 out of rainy day if we needed to. In 25, we only spent $485 out of rainy day. Debt service, that's where we pay all of our debt. You can see there's our approved appropriation, what we spent in 25. Education fund, what we are approved to spend is $12.3 million. What we spent in 25 was $11.8, but that is without the transfer that we make to operations. I can tell you right now, the 26 appropriation, which what we are allowed to spend, there's no way we can spend that. We spend that and we're not going to have any cash. So there's no way we can spend that. Operations, we're approved to spend 4.3, and then you can see what we spent in 25, 4.9. So we're really under the gun there too.
2 questions for me real quick.
Yep.
The budget year, is it January to December 31st, or is it the June 30th to the July 1 or
Calendar.
whatever? It's the calendar. Okay,
Yep.
so this is calendar. And then just as a clarification, you said on the education, the 11,805, 639 was without the transfer?
Correct.
So is this net spend then? Because, I mean, like, the transfer would actually be income, right? So we're saying this is the net spend
No,
of,
the
or
transfer
is
is
this true?
an expense out of education.
Oh, okay, yeah, right, it's out of
So it
education
actually
into
spends
operations.
more.
Yeah.
It's just that
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I had that right.
Absolutely, yeah. You can go on the next one. So just some projections for you here. So education fund. So January 1, we started with 1.17 in cash. Projected revenue, 12.6. But our projected expenses plus transfers, 14.2. So you can see that's not adding up in the way we want it to. Way more expenses than we have projected revenue. So if we spent like we have been, you see the projected ending fund balance in December 31st of 26 is going to be the negative, which we cannot do. And that revenue projection is also based on the current ADM at the time, which unfortunately we just got our February count. We lost 24 more kids. We're at 1489. And if that were to stay the same for next budget cycle, that's another loss of about $175,000.
The 24 kids.
Yep.
And that would come off the 12,682 revenue.
What was the loss?
Uh-huh.
What did you say it was the year?
Yep, the revenue. Operations fund, starting cash was almost $434,000. Projected revenue about 4.35. Expenses, pretty much the same as our projected revenue. Ending fund balance would be, 438,000, but that's if everything goes perfectly. That's also based on our 15% transfer from education coming in there. We've also needed to ask for additional appropriation in the last 2 years, which means we're spending into our cash, and frankly, we just don't have enough cash to keep doing that. And this will be the first year of the SEA1 impact too. Okay, go ahead. So this is our last slide. Basically just sums everything up. We need to decrease spending in both education and operations to maintain positive cash balances, rebuild cash reserves. We have a target cash balance of 20% of expenditures in the education fund and 25% in the operations fund. And in 2025, we were at 8.6 and 8.7 respectively. So we want to try to get those back up to that 20% and 25%.
How much is the 15% transfer in dollars roughly?
I always think I know, but I don't want to say wrong.
I think that's a little under like one,
Yeah, about 1.8, right?
yeah.
And that's in our like the 4.3 million we're showing as revenue on the operations fund has that transfer in? So about how much did you say?
About 1.8.
1.8 is from the education.
Cause our levy's only like 2.6, I think.
And this is the one, Chad, sorry, I don't want to derail, but I do want to make sure I got this right. Like, this is the one that kind of locked in at 2018 levels, right? Can you just walk me through that one more time? I mean, I think it's good for everybody to kind of understand that, but
Yeah, so
like,
in 2019, the operations fund was created.
mhm,
And when it was created, every school district, every school, every school district was assigned a maximum property tax levy in the operations fund. It was based on a calculation, and every school district's levy is different, meaning that there's no consistency to it if you broke it down per kid. You know, like a lot of things in schools are break down per kid. And so I think I'd shown the board a chart a while back that I've got a list of about 35-ish of our clients, school districts of all sizes all over the state. And if you just take Monrovia's maximum levy and break it down per kid, you guys are in the bottom like 5, meaning that you're getting like $1,200 per kid with your max levy. The average is around $2,200, and I've got some clients getting $3,500. So I mean, you're in the bottom. You know, if you were getting that $3,500 per kid, and Mooresville's the same. They're one of my clients too. They're about the same as you guys per kid. So you know, if that was more normal, that or at least close to average, we probably wouldn't be having these conversations.
but there's no recourse to try to get that to a more average, right? Locked in at 2018 or something?
There was a statute on the books that did give schools a little bit of flexibility to ask for some more levy in that fund, but in our last session, they took that off the table. They removed it. So no school has that flexibility anymore.
Thanks.
Any other questions in general before I start kind of talking about ideas?
Back to that $1,200, I always get confused here. Somewhere in there, we get like $7,800 or something that the student.
That's in the
Education fund.
That's $7,800 in education,
Yeah.
that $1,200 goes to the operations
That's
side.
strictly
Yeah.
operations.
Yep.
The 7,800 is your money per kid, so like Trent was saying, kids go down, money goes down, $7,800 for every one of them. That's in the ed fund. The $1,200 per kid is property tax that goes in the
And it's not really.
It's not really per kid
Yeah.
though,
Yeah,
right?
it's not
It's
per
like a
kid.
set amount and we divide it by the
Yeah,
number of
Yeah.
he's
kids.
just
Yes.
dividing the levy by the amount of kids we have,
Right.
kind of
But
breaks
it's
it down
not gonna
per
change
kid.
if we get more enrollment or less.
So the more enrollment, the less we get per kid.
In the education fund, yes.
Operation.
Operation.
Oh, in the operations, if you break it down per
Yes.
kid,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
But it's a set amount. It's
It's
not.
just,
Correct.
it's just every school has a maximum property tax levy. It's the 2.3 million or whatever yours is.
Mhm.
It doesn't have anything to do with per kid. It's just,
Okay.
if you break it down.
It's just a way of looking
It's
at
just
it.
a way of
Okay.
looking
And I don't
Yeah.
know that you're the right person to ask this, but was you here in the 2018-19 when that was set?
I started working with you guys in maybe 20.
Was it ever, I guess, was there ever talks of, hey, we were on the low side of it, we need to ask, or was it at that time just things were good and,
I don't-
just didn't think
I
about
don't
it?
think so.
Yeah.
Not that I know of, Ron.
Other questions? Okay, I'm gonna plug along here. So next, I'm just gonna be talking about some ideas. So what we've done so far, the administrators and directors have met with me twice now to start throwing around ideas. So what you're gonna hear from this list are just a list of ideas. Like I said, nothing set in stone. Board's not acting on anything tonight. But I would say here in March and April, we need to start putting a plan together of, you know, what cost cutting we're gonna do and that sort of thing. And some of that is dependent on, you know, possible retirements and things like that. We'll have to wait and see what happens there, but I'll start talking about some overall ideas here. So,
Hey, before you do that.
Yeah.
What's kind of our target number? Cause I mean, if I look at projected expenses for 2026 versus projected revenue.
Good
it's
question, yeah.
14,235 minus
Yep.
12,682. That means there's a $1.5 million spend problem. I mean, spend versus income, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's cash balance, which leaves us with 375 negative, which obviously is bad, but if you only see 375, you end up at zero cash. So it's like, what's our, kind of our target by fund that we're.
yeah,
we're
thanks for
trying to
bringing
get
that
to?
up, because I should have led with that. So, over the next 3 years in the education fund, we are looking at needing to cut about 1.7 million.
Over 3 years.
Over 3 years. So I'd say for '26, I think we need to realistically be looking between 600 and 800,000.
When you say that, is that assuming revenue is flat in year 2 and 3? Or does that assume decreased students again? I mean, like, what's the assumption to get to that in year 2 and 3?
Go ahead if you want to.
So, our per student funding is set on a 2-year basis, and so we know our per student funding through June 30th of 27. So that's fixed. The only variable that we need to figure out is the number of kids, okay? So in the education fund, what we've done in your projection is we've assumed you guys have been declining on average until this last 2 count. Well, we were holding pretty steady before this last 2 count. If you just looked at it on average, every 6 months, we'd be up 2, down 3, up 5, down 2. Over the last 2 count periods, you guys have lost almost a total of 60 kids, just over the last 2 counts. So that would be this count we just took, and then the fall count of last year. So when you multiply that by the $7,800, you're in the $400,000 or $500,000 revenue loss range. So right now, moving forward in your forecast, I have you losing, I think it was 16 kids per year. So 8 kids every count.
Okay.
And so that, the numbers that Trent gave are somewhat looking at that. After fiscal year 2017, or fiscal year 2027, I put in a 2% increase per kid. Now, if you average out what the legislators have done over the last about 10 years, it averages about 2.8% per kid each year that they give a new increased money per kid. So I think 2%'s a little conservative, but not necessarily out of line. We're getting 1.3% next fiscal year, so, you know, it's,
So to restate that, we know the rate per child, or per student. We know that rate for the next 2 years.
Yes.
So the only question is, where does it go? And we've assumed we're gonna lose 16 and 27 and 26 and 27?
Yes.
27, 28.
So losing 16, well, losing 8 starting, we're gonna take another count in the fall.
Yeah.
And I'd be down 8.
And you've done, and then 8 in the spring,
8 in the spring.
fall, 8 in the
Yep,
spring.
every 6-month countdown.
And then getting to 2028, when we talk about the 3-year projection, we're saying we're still losing 16 kids.
Keep losing 16.
But you're bumping up the dollar per by 2%.
2%. Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanna make sure I
Yep,
have it in my
nope.
head. Thank you.
And then operations fund, we're looking, I think for 26 to cut about 300,000. And I can't remember what we talked about as a 3-year, quite honestly. I've been looking at the education fund so
I think
much.
it was 200 the next year and 100 the year after. I think.
Okay.
About 600 overall.
600 overall over the 3 years, okay.
What'd you say you thought it was for 27, 200 and 200?
200 and maybe 100.
200 and 100.
Okay, the first category right here is just kind of like overall input. They kind of could possibly fit in some areas to possibly save some costs, but it's just kind of overall ideas. So one that we could research, and this is actually was a big topic of discussion at our strategic meetings this last time, was reduced to a 4-day school week. Of course, we would have to increase our minutes per day. No real good way to put any idea of what the savings would be on that right now, because we just don't know. I mean, could it save us some power of not operating the building for 1 day? Maybe. Transportation savings, yeah. But just not real sure how to quantify that right now. But that's an idea that's come out from not only staff here, but community members that are working with us on strategic plan.
Can we kind of talk through that, like, sorry, I don't mean to be.
No, you're fine.
Continue to ask questions.
Nope.
I'm going
That's what we're here for.
like, transportation's a hard cost, I get that one, right? We're gonna run less buses, but head count, you're still paying people the same salaries, we're not gonna save money on that, right? So that, you could say maybe it's a soft cost, I mean, there's maybe a little bit in electricity, but outside of transportation, how do we think that's saving us money? Any,
I'm not sure it is.
Not sure.
okay, okay.
I think that's pretty much it.
Do we have any idea like what transportation costs per week?
There's been research on,
Sorry.
I know Andrew, I have it, the research that, we had a committee that worked on, am I allowed to talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Depends on what you got to say.
But they, worked on it, and they have like pros and cons, and there's a school in Lafayette, or what, I don't know if it's West Lafayette or
It's Lafayette,
but-
Lafayette School
yeah.
Corporation, yeah.
And, so we do have that, if you want to see it. Just what the other school is doing, what the pros are, and so forth.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. I mean, I don't have any idea. I'm just thinking like purely cost-wise. I can't think of anything other than
In
transportation.
Nevada and Utah, in one of the national school board meetings, they've gone to a 4-week, a lot of the schools out there, and it's basically because of utility cost and transportation cost. Because you're not paying your bus drivers except for 4 days. You're only using fuel for 4 days. They also, there's been talk about going back to a unified, or a dual bus route. I don't know that you'd have any savings there because you've still got the same amount of mileage that you're gonna be putting on your buses. But out west, they're using it just because of their, the distance they have to bus students and the cost of fuel. And of course, back when we went to one bus system, buses weren't costing as much as they're costing now. So I think there is. I mean, utility. You know, the key is you've got to keep the building close, but you can't jump it up 6 degrees because then you're just defeating the purposes of heating a building that's cold. But even 2 degrees, I think if you would check with Duke Energy or REMC, you might find out just exactly what that cost would entail. A lot depends upon insulation and things like that. But I think there has to be some savings to it, whether it's how significant.
Manette was raising her hand. Manette.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
My cousin, I'm sorry. Not really.
So, ideas together for transportation department, and you guys brought this up. So I already ran the numbers on what, and this is really, really basic about what we could save. And then Melissa's talking about the 4-day school, the thing that they've already done. So that's all in this packet. I put this all together. So anyway, if I could just give you guys all one of these, then I think it answers a lot of your questions already.
Okay.
But this is different scenarios, right? This isn't necessarily the specific scenario? Or is this one of the scenarios in there?
One of the scenarios.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know one of the groups I was in, which I know you're trying to get a dollar savings here, but we're glooming and dooming everybody to death here. So there might, try to find a positive in some of this, as if on the 4-day school week that I didn't think of at my group, I don't know if it's true or whatever, but it kind of made sense to me, like if you had to cut down on teachers or teachers had more group, maybe a 4-day week would give them a benefit, they, get an extra day. Or if we, unfortunately, we know we can't pay the teachers what they deserve or are worth or whatever, maybe they can work here for X dollar amounts, knowing that I only gotta work 4 days a week versus 5, and maybe, not that pays any
Yeah.
bills, but maybe it sweetens the pot for some of the negative stuff that we
Yep.
unfortunately.
And there's a lot of talk about, would this draw other people into the community to say, hey, kids are only going to school 4 days a week, I kinda like that type
Because
of thing.
when I first started talking about it, I was like, we're talking 1 day on a bus and 4 degrees temperature. I don't see that being net savings. And then parents are gonna have to get babysitters for that day, but then some of them even said, well, if they're at school longer, maybe they don't have to have a babysitter those 4 days and only have to have one that day, or maybe we could have some sort of a school care thing that maybe would, I don't know if it would make us any money, but maybe pay the light bill, or, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, those are
What would
good
be the
points.
procedure? You have to petition the DOE to go to
Yeah, I believe we would, yeah, because it'd be and it'd be part of their flexibility waiver. We'd probably have to petition them to see if they'd allow us to do it. I think there was some schools that petitioned the last couple years. I think at least one was allowed to do it. I think some got turned down, but I don't know why they got turned down. It could have been because they weren't maybe as high performing academically or something. I don't know. But yeah, we'd have to petition the DOE for it.
Well, with the state, you have to have, I think it's 54,000 minutes a week, and we are already at 62.
Yeah, we're over.
So, there's a waiver there, yeah. And then also, they were showing that teacher retention, which we're having difficulty keeping our good teachers, and we may even be able to bring good teachers in who are like, I would love to do that. And then families who want maybe sports, traveling, or just 3-day weekends, and instead of being the school that's following everybody else, maybe we could be somebody outside of the box that people want to come to us, so that may be a way to attract students, I don't know. We did have the opportunity a few years ago to go visit Eminence, Kentucky, and they were telling us about that, and so it's just something to, definitely think about. And the kids still are getting the same amount, and the teachers are working the same amount, so it's not as if teachers are trying to get out of working 5 days a week, it's just a different scenario. Yeah, and then so one of the Fridays, because as far as I know, in local, we're the only school that we do not have professional development time. But we are expecting our teachers to grow and to learn and to search through data, and we do not have the time. They have to come in before their contracted time. This would give us time that we could take an entire Friday to do that, and the benefits, I know that you would probably get pushback from some of the community members. That, because it's different, and it is an inconvenience for some.
2 questions from me. I guess when you think about, and I know nothing about this, like the way kids learn,
Right.
like I've already heard some people complain we start too early, and like adding an extra whatever that number of
38
minutes per day, right? Does that impact the effectiveness of what they're learning? Is it good or bad, or is there any science behind any of that?
What you need to do is also study like movement, like taking breaks, chunking it. So if you have an excellent teacher, they'll be able to use all the time correctly so that our kids can.
If you don't.
If you don't have a good teacher, it doesn't matter how much time you spend.
That's right.
Just you put the classification there, just asking.
Well, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, no, no, that's what I want, so.
And
The
also,
research that we've done, like the schools that have done that have like like on test scores and stuff, have not dropped in their test scores or anything like that. So that's kind of getting what you're at.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going.
Well, and actually,
Does it
the
dilute
schools
the
that they did
education?
study, they went up, their I-Learn scores went up.
You would think it could give them more rest too, and they'd be more eager to come back
Right, right.
on Monday or whatever that initial
And
start
they said
date was.
discipline was down. I know it's a whole day and you don't have to deal with discipline, but.
Down 20%.
Attendance is improved. And also with the teachers, so our subs that we're paying for, I think with this school, it was like a difference of 100 days. So, I mean, that adds up on getting subs too. So teachers
Especially
can
on
make their
Fridays.
appointments on Fridays essentially.
It also affords, during that instructional, day, it would give teachers a longer period of time. You know, sometimes they get started and then they get interrupted, or students are coming in and out. That longer school day would extend sort of those blocks for math and ELA. So instead of getting 50 minutes or an hour, they might get, you know, an hour and 15 or 20 minutes. So it's just condensing it, but giving them a little more flexibility. They can sort of get started and they don't have to stop. So, you know, it would lengthen that instructional time period.
And then just kind of thinking about the comment you made about the PD. I guess I feel like that's gonna be a hard sell. You're gonna take 40 hours worth of work, pump it into essentially 4 days, right? Or would we still have teachers here on 5-day schedules and they just have longer days? Like I mean, I would think that if you're,
One Friday that they did the PD that the teachers were here, but it may be different.
and look, that may be cart way before the horse, right? I'm just trying to get an idea of what the logic is there, cause.
It looked like there was a lot of different ways you could set it up. But also, if you think about doing it on Mondays as opposed to Fridays, if you go and look at the calendar, there are several holidays that fall on a Monday that really wouldn't even affect what we're talking about doing. I mean, you're already gonna take those Mondays off. An example today, all the other schools were out of school today. I'm sorry, we had a lot of people off today because they anticipated today to be a holiday. You'd already have that Monday scheduled off. You wouldn't have to have built-in snow days, you wouldn't have to have, you know, there's a lot of things that would, like, but you can make your calendar however you want it as long as you get it right.
I could see the picking of the day being important too, like if you pick a Friday that you're not gonna be here, you're still here for probably sports on Friday nights and things
Yes,
like that,
that's
right?
another
So
thing. You don't
you
have
lose
to
some of
make-
the facility savings, I would think, if you have to do that.
You won't have the athletic things and stuff on Mondays like you do on a
Yeah,
Friday.
so, I mean, I could see where day you pick would definitely matter. Okay, sorry, didn't mean to.
Nope, you're good. You're good. We can stop whenever. Another overall idea that came in was, this has to do more with revenue, but see if there's any way we can increase our CTE funding. So we get funding, CTE dollars, depending on the types of classes our kids are taking. Some courses are worth a lot more than others. I know I've, talked with, Andrew and Mike, and one idea they had is to make some requirements of freshmen coming in to take some CTE courses, and if they're required, then that's funding we're gonna get. They thought there's a possibility of bringing in about $150,000 next year if that is put into place. So once again, idea to increase CTE funding. Another idea was, this is once again more of an energy savings, would possibly hit the ops fund, is moving teachers to laptops and eliminating desktops. Possible power savings, have computers running overnight or on weekends if they don't get shut off, things like that. There's schools that have moved to that.
That'd take capital investment though, right?
Correct. You'd have to buy the laptops.
Would teachers rather have laptops? I mean, I would think they'd almost rather have them anyways, wouldn't they?
I haven't
Along
really
with
even
them, or-
discussed that with them yet.
Everybody has Chromebooks already. The issue when you go to those is the hookup system, hooking it back up to your smart board when you're screening from there. There are systems that work with that, but if you have your laptop at home and there is a sub, there is no item for that sub then to hook up to. Yours breaks in the middle of it, you've lost all your technology options going forth from there, so there's pros and cons both ways, but.
Absolutely.
So laptops are no.
Okay, I'm gonna jump into stuff that really kind of affects the education fund here. This one actually will hit education fund and ops fund, but I'll give you numbers that would hit in both as we get to them. So first one is eliminating perf. district-wide, increasing the 403B match to 6%, and that would be a savings of $83,000.
That's just in one of the funds, correct?
That's just an education fund.
Okay,
What was that again? I'm sorry.
So we would eliminate perf
Uh-huh.
and increase the 403B match to 6%. So anybody that was on perf could then jump over to the 403B, and we'd increase that match for them to 6%.
can you walk me through perf? I just want a refresher on all that.
So it's just your public retirement fund, instead like teachers have teacher retirement fund.
Like their pension fund?
Yeah,
Here's the problem with PERF.
We can do that?
Yeah,
Mhm.
we can.
I didn't know that.
yes.
The problem with PERF is it's mandatory. So anybody that walks in the building and is an employee that's, you know, our IAs, our bus driver, they're in PERF. They pay 3%, we match 11.2% for every employee. It's very expensive. And I have actually talked to Empress about getting out of it, because when we started talking about this, the big hesitation was, well, what if somebody's almost vested, or, you know, that kind of thing. And basically, we would have to do a new resolution for the board, get out of PERF, that everyone who's in it immediately becomes vested. So they're not gonna lose anything that's been contributed by the corporation. They're just not gonna have their years of service, so that's part of the calculation.
Which would impact income though, right, for those people?
It would impact their pension, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
But it's a terribly expensive, because we have everybody in it.
How many school districts don't do that?
Don't do perf.
Yeah.
I'd say there's probably a decent amount out there that
There's a
don't.
few that don't do it. It, more than anything, it's a lot of people don't have everyone in it. It's just full-time classified staff.
How do they get away with full-time classified, but we have to do everybody? I mean, what's the difference?
When we set it up, there was a resolution of who could be in perf, and that list was any position you could think of.
Is there a possibility of changing the resolution that where full-time employees are in it, but part-time aren't? I mean,
You can, it doesn't go by part-time, full-time, it goes by positions. So we'd have to list the positions that were full-time. We could do that, I guess I mean, it's gonna hit me if we do it. I just think it's more fair if everybody has to get out of it versus just hitting our IAs and our bus drivers.
Is it 11.3% or nothing, or can that percentage change as well?
Well, the state can change it, they haven't ever
But-
since
Yeah,
I've been.
Right, but that's set by the state. I mean,
Yeah,
we don't get to
we
say, oh,
can't-
we're gonna
We
do
don't.
5%.
So we can't
right?
change
The
it.
teacher that we put into went up from 6.5 to 7.1 this year, so the state can change that.
Yeah,
That's been 11.2 for quite a while, and I mean, that's a big percentage.
but we don't have flexibility to
We have
change. I
no
mean, we're either in
flexibility.
or we're out at the
There's no
11.3%.
flexibility in it, which is the problem.
so this isn't the teacher's retirement?
No.
This is
different.
not.
This is,
Public employees, so
Employees.
all the classified staff.
There's two buckets, there's the perf bucket, and then there's the turf bucket, the teacher bucket. And they're both different rates and they're different contributions.
So perf, okay, so perf is non-teacher.
Right,
Yeah.
classified stuff.
But we'd still have a retirement for people, it would just be just the 403. And the benefit of that is they have to contribute for us to match. So if they're not really looking for, I mean, we probably have some people who aren't really looking for retirement from us, but they're getting it anyway because we have to sign them up and pay 11.2%. This way, only the people who were interested in it would sign up, and if they put in 6%, we would match that. It's currently, we match 2.
That's current.
So that's how we get such a big savings, and it saves money, you know, it was $85,000 to $90,000 both in ed and then additionally in ops. So it's
Yeah.
like almost a $200,000 savings, even increasing what we put into the 403. It's not really anything any of us wanna do, but it's a big
Yeah.
savings.
None of the stuff that I'm gonna read do we wanna do, but, yeah.
Okay.
Next up is reducing secretary/treasurers to 200 days. That would be a $35,000 savings. So those two things combined there would be $118,000.
What was that savings again?
Those two things combined are 118,000
To the ed
Wait.
fund.
to the
correct?
ed fund. Everything I'm gonna be talking about right now is ed fund.
When you say those two things, you're saying reduce,
Eliminating perf and the increase to 403B match is about $83,000 in savings. Reducing secretaries and treasurers to 200 days would be about 35,000.
that's, I just want to split.
Yep. Looking at some high school stuff here. One thing we discussed, actually brought this up, going back to a junior, senior high school model at the high school and middle school. So you'd have some combined administration there. I kind of added this not too long ago, so I don't have a savings for you there on that right now. We are going to continue looking at any retirements or things like that, resignations. I put in here, prepare to not replace possibly 2 teachers if they left. Don't know if that's possible, but we're throwing anything in here that we can. We're thinking, extremes here. That could be a possible savings of 100,000. Alternative education program. There could be some major overhaul there that we could do. Whether that is possibly reducing staff there, several different things. I have possibility of a savings of 102,000 there.
Do we have that someplace that kind of breaks that 102 down, or is that just kind of what you've got out?
I've got some breakdown that's
Okay.
a possibility, but I'd rather not.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And that was by overhauling the what?
Alternative ed program, so MIT, credit recovery, that type of stuff.
Would we still have a program, like in the 102 savings? I mean, there'd still be a program, it's just kind of a restructured program? Is that what you're thinking?
We could possibly still have that program, yes.
Are we
It'd be reassigning some duties and things like that, but
Are we required to have that program?
Yeah, we
But
need to
doesn't it
start.
help us with our graduation rate?
helps graduation rate, helps some kids graduate that might not.
What does that overall
Otherwise-
program cost, you think? I'm just saying, if it's 102 savings out of 110, or is that 102 savings out of 600?
Probably,
Percentage-wise or
it's 102 savings out of probably closer to, kind of the way I have it broken down, probably cost us more than 200,000 to run that, so we saving about half.
Does that program, and look, I hate to break this out like just P&L cost centers or whatever, right? But, I mean, you've got students that we're getting money for in that program. We've got expenses for that program. Does that program cover its expenses with revenues? Would we say?
If we're looking at just MIT, I would say no, because of the amount of kids we have in there, plus they only go a partial day. We don't get the full funding for them.
And then like, not on the money side, if we didn't have that program, how does it impact students? I mean, obviously, there's a population of people there, I don't know how big it is, but what would be their options, right? I mean, look, and none of this is popular, so
No,
I'm just
no.
asking, right? I get that nobody wants to do any of this, but what's the impact?
I don't remember having that in school.
They'd have the opportunity to go back, if they can, to a regular traditional schedule.
Do your work.
Yeah. Outside of that, if we don't have that program at all,
You can do night school. Night school, if they can go.
but what about, I think, and there's some issues with how much they're attending and with the state.
No, well, I think you're gonna lose the students. Well, like right now, some of our night school students are using it as credit recovery. Obviously, we've got some folks that are well past high school age that have utilized it, not that much lately. So, I mean, if you had 15 kids in the morning MIT, you could try to set up a program where those 15 kids come 2 days a week. 3 to 5:30. That's when they're in person here on campus, and then they're working at home as well.
So that group does have an alternative. I mean, if we didn't have this, we can do these two options.
Possibly, yeah.
That
I think that one of the reasons that we developed that a long time ago was because the impact on our graduation rate. And the state was very concerned about where that was. And I think you have to look realistically. I know a lot of those kids, they come to school in the morning and they're working. A lot of them, they're almost self-sufficient. So if they're going to have a choice over living expense as compared to a high school diploma, they're going to, not saying it's a smart thing to do, but they'll choose the work over their diploma. So I'm, you know, like I said, none of this is good, but you know, I think you have to face reality. You know, theoretically, it sounds good that we're going to offer these kids this during the evening, late afternoon. They'll do it.
I think what we could do is we could maybe put them on a half-day schedule in the traditional school, and then let them leave, and then make sure they come back for night school. You could get creative that way. And so you're not losing, like, the student, you're not losing that 8 AM student that, or maybe have them come, actually it'd make more sense to have them come after lunch and be here periods 5, 6, 7, and then stay here on Monday, Wednesday till 5, something like that.
I think the other thing we have to think about are the number of students that are used in the MIT program, because we cannot fit traditional courses in their schedule, whether it be because they're at Area 31 or any other reason. But for example, my daughter, Area 31, she can't get into pre-calculus in person here because of the master schedule. So she has to take it online through the Edmonton program at MIT. And I think there's over 340 kids or courses, if I'm right, students that are in that program. So there's
I think Leslie said it was 340 credits
yeah,
that were earned.
There's a bigger hit outside of just MIT because of the master schedule.
Yeah, thank you. That does play a role, because there's a lot of kids that take courses like that too.
I don't think I understand that point.
That's I mean, we would still have the credit recovery. I mean, students could still take all these extra classes, like a pre-calc online. We're talking about kind of the at-risk student, or I guess that's what I'm talking about, that at-risk student. And I don't know how many kids we have right now in MIT. Jack's right, graduation rate, behavior it helps the climate of your school to have those students, because they're struggling a lot, they're hurting your attendance rate, they're having discipline problems. And a lot of them really do well in that alternative setting. But we could still keep, you know, we call it Aspire, is what we call our credit recovery. So that's they use the same curriculum, but they're under different umbrellas.
Would it be possible to, I guess, I know we started an online school, we could also go that direction, right?
Yeah, I mean, they could join they could join the online school if they wanted to.
I mean, if we didn't have it, I mean, it'd be that option as well. I'm just trying to think of all the options of, I mean, you don't want to say, oh, you know, you don't get anything, right? It's really trying to.
Okay. Moving on to middle school, same thing as the first one as I mentioned there, consolidating high school, middle school, and a junior, senior high model. Not backfilling a special ed paraprofessional, that's a $25,000 savings. Transferring a middle school special ed teacher to the elementary, savings of approximately $75,000. And same thing as I talked about at the high school, preparing for the possible loss of one teacher if they have a retirement or a resignation. That could be a savings of approximately $75,000.
I'm sorry, what was the transfer to the elementary?
Special ed teacher.
That would fill an empty spot, not
Yeah.
add. Right?
Correct. Yeah, that would be filling a spot that the elementary would.
So it'd be saving it in the middle school
Correct.
and just filling one that's already
Correct.
in the numbers in
Yeah.
the elementary.
Yep. So middle school savings, possible 175,000.
If we were to do the consolidation of middle and go back to the junior, senior high school model, I mean, I get where some of those savings are, right? I mean, administrative is not as much, right?
Yep.
And secretaries and all the stuff like that, the fixed costs, but what's the downside of that? From like an education perspective, I mean, like what's, just kind of thinking like, I mean, I'm not an educator, so I guess for the educators in the room, what's the downside of that?
I don't know, because I grew up going here.
Yeah, me too.
312.
Me too.
I'm not sure what the benefit is. That's what I'm trying to understand. How does it save? Other than secretaries, one of us out. I mean, that's what.
Yeah, I mean,
don't know how it
I
helps
would think you
students
probably
to
save
do-
5 salaries, right? 4?
Well,
Right,
on
probably.
that though, I mean, just say Katie, Josh. If we eliminate one of those positions, wouldn't we have to backfill them into a teaching position? So that means that we would be getting rid of one of our less tenured teachers, is that right? I mean, if you're combining,
So you're saying if we move an administrator, we have to offer a teacher position, is that what you're thinking, Jack?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, which then would bump somebody else, I mean.
It's
to
a
get the
savings, but, you know.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
No,
I
that's,
guess from a classroom standpoint, we share teachers now
Mhm.
in middle school and high school,
Yeah.
so as far as.
yeah, no, I think it's, I don't see it as any teacher savings, I just see it as like admin type costs, right? Like that front office. And look, I'm not leaning towards that, so just.
Well, isn't there some, not a rule of thumb or whatever, but like, you need a principal for so many students, you need I mean, we still gotta educate these kids, we
Right.
still gotta be productive, and we still gotta, I don't know, I understand we're thinking out of the box to do things, but we gotta keep in mind that, I mean, we still have a job to do.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of what, like, and I know our elementary, but there's a lot of kids there.
Yeah, over
So
700.
if you take the kids and divide them by the staff or the admin, if we're just doing admin, I mean, they have a lot of kids.
I'll just speak up for, the middle school and high school in terms of a downfall I could see is, the number of kids that whether Katie is meeting with or Brandy regarding issues or parents that are coming into the building. Your secretaries that are answering the phone for middle school students in contrast to a high school student, all that is gonna be, we're talking about, cutting out the secretaries and those administrators. All that is still gonna keep coming, and it's gonna funnel somewhere else. And I just don't see how that would fully, the capability of one admin team and one office team could sustain all that. Just my thoughts.
Just throw this out there. Don't throw anything back. We used to have 7 through 12. We have a lot of 8th graders, and I don't know how many are taking high school classes. What would be the possibility of moving 8th grade up to the high school, then to alleviate some of the crowding at the elementary, move 5th grade, and I know there's a difference in curriculum and everything, and I'm not a curriculum expert. I know that, I'd rather have books than Chromebooks. That's my own personal thing, okay? But anyway, that would alleviate some of the crowding at the elementary if we moved the 5th grade up. Have we thought about that possibility?
We've talked about
Yeah,
that for
that-
sure.
been
And
thrown
I
around.
think setting it up.
I don't know that there's any cost savings necessarily, but
Maybe we
But-
can get creative, but I don't know, cost savings, you're looking at 5th graders probably need recess, that would be
Yeah.
something that would be additional. But then
they
you're
do-
adding 8th graders,
they're 5th graders, they don't
8th
need,
graders to the high school, is that if we're shifting?
yeah.
And they, 100% of the 8th graders take a high school course, unless, I would
Okay.
say, maybe 95%.
Okay.
There might be a few special education students that don't. But right
Just-
now, everybody is,
it-
well, take that back, all of them
Yeah, so I mean, I know there's probably not any savings necessarily, but if it alleviates the crowding in the elementary, we may not have to add on or, you know, whatever there. I've just thrown out an idea. That's what this is all about. It wouldn't be the first time I was wet.
Okay. Move on to elementary school. We have 2 existing resignations, Corey Shields, why can't I remember her first name, Kaufman? Tricia, thank you very much. Those are multilingual teachers, so if we don't backfill those, that's $113,000 in savings there. We are getting word that we could have some retirements. We have nothing in hand right now. We have no retirements in hand. So what happens at the elementary is really going to kind of focus on whether we get those retirements or not. If we get what we think we might get, we can possibly not backfill some of those, which means some class sizes are going to go up, possibly in the intermediate. What I have done is we put together about, 3 scenarios, Melissa? 4? We put together 4 scenarios that I shared with Melissa late last week and had her start looking at them. I really don't want to go over every single one of those, but basically what it comes down to is it gives her some options of where she could possibly create some bigger class sizes by not backfilling, but yet we'd still be able to possibly get her some help with some aids in those areas. So basically what we're seeing at the elementary, like I said, is how many retirements are we going to have? How many do we feel comfortable not backfilling? And where are we comfortable with class sizes getting bigger? What grade levels? But still possibly help her with some aids also. There's a possibility we would have about $300,000 in savings at the elementary. So if we did everything we kind of just talked about in the ed fund, we'd be somewhere between $700,000 to $800,000 in savings.
For this year.
For
And then
26.
Next year, we gotta come up with all this plus.
About another 5 or 6 next year, and then about the same the year after that.
I always hear average class sizes. Do we know, what is our average elementary class size, our average middle school class size, and our average high school class period? Do we got?
For Monroe-Gregg?
Yeah, are they all, is elementary 24 kids a student, or 24 students a teacher?
Sure, Melissa can tell
Is
you
the-
that.
I have it right here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Very good.
Where we're at right now, before.
Well, right now, our kindergarten's about 20, our 21. Our first grade is about 22.
Uh-huh.
Second grade, 24, Casey?
Yes.
Third grade, 20, I think 24 also, all the way up, that's 24, 25.
And
But if we are going to absorb and make 4, instead of 5 teachers, our 4th and 5th would be at 29.75. So I don't know who
Is
the
that the
0.75
max?
is, but 30 kids. per
Was
class.
that's the max, right?
And then some of the cons on that, class size, of course. When we have to split a class, when we don't have a sub, we couldn't do that for those grade levels. You'd have 40 kids in a class. Also, this is just logistics, our cubbies. I think we have 25 cubbies. So we have to be creative on where they're gonna hang their coats and things like that. And back in the day, yes, we did 30, 32, but to be honest, our kids are different than they were 20, 30 years ago. Just a lot that they're dealing with too, so. Now, we do have a grade level that is a little bit lower, but it's in primary, which I wouldn't want to, but if we had to, we could go like 24, go to 4. Our incoming kindergarten, it just matters what our numbers are. We would have to make that decision once we know what our enrollment is.
so right now we have probably 5 teachers per class, or
In every
per
grade
age group.
level, yeah.
So then if you just went to 4, yeah, it'd be. And then do we know our middle school? I don't.
Yeah, So we have, in each grade level, sixth, seventh, and eighth, we have 4 core teachers, and then their electives. So in sixth grade, our numbers are 123. Next year's sixth graders will, right now, as it stands, 123. So average, our eighth grade is the lowest with 102 currently enrolled as a grade level. To give you perspective on class sizes, when they're divided up throughout the schedule, ELA, like language arts in sixth grade, classes range from 21 students to 27 students, depending on where electives are. Eighth grade, since it's lower, goes 17, but we have 27 students in one class.
So the lowest was 17, the highest is 27?
Yeah. Like in math, 23 to 28 students in each in sixth grade, 19 to 22 in math 8.
19.
So it just depends on where their electives are and how many students are on the grade level.
And then in the high school, do we have any idea? I mean, do we
Yeah,
got?
so at the high school, take our enrollment of 460 divided by, we have 27.3 teachers, and that's, the .3 is because of our math department. We use Andrew for 2 periods, so we lost a teacher, we lost a PE teacher, and then with our band and choir, we use band 2 periods, and we use band, or choir 2 periods. Anyhow, 460 divided by 27.3 is 16.8 students per teacher. Comparing that to surrounding schools, Cloverdale students per teacher is 13.1, South Putt's 14.8, North Putt's 14.2, Cascades 15.7, Martinsville 19.8, Mooresville 20.2, Plainfield 21.6. So we're kind of in the middle. In our conference, we're right there with Indian Creek. There's 16.2. Just to give you an idea. So again, that's our staff, teachers, divided by our enrollment.
Do we have a minimum class size for a class to be, you know, we have to have 6 students interested in calculus,
Right.
whatever, to have it?
Not right now, you don't, I believe, do you?
No, but I mean, we'll have to do that.
Yeah, I've kind of asked them going forward, that I'd like to see about 12 to 15 if possible. Now, I know that's not always possible. We have to offer certain things here to be competitive, but if we can work the schedule in such a way where we have an average of about 12 to 15 kids in a class, I think that would be good.
Do we have situations still where we have like an online class where we're using Ed Minimum and we're still using a full-time teacher to kind of monitor that class? I know at one point we did have that in several places.
So we've got, it's called Aspire, we've got 2 teachers that do that right now. And so those rooms are pretty crowded. And so that's a problem. That's something we've got to get away from. We've got to get a student not taking government online during the school day and put them in the classroom with a teacher. And that, you know, since COVID, that's become an issue because families, especially students, have realized there's certain classes that are less rigorous than probably sitting in a classroom for 18 weeks with an instructor, or you may not like that instructor. And that can't be an option moving forward. And
Why?
so that will raise our class sizes.
Why couldn't that be an option going
I
forward?
mean, it could be an option, but we've got to get away from, we've got to do a better job in our building of those students that have no good reason at all to go take an online course that'll take them 2 weeks to finish instead of sitting in a classroom for 18 weeks with a live teacher, is my point. That has lowered our class sizes in some classes. So
I guess I was thinking the other way, that I was thinking, can we push more to an online class for some of those kind of classes? And I don't know if I don't even know if it's allowed.
We've done a really good job of utilizing online classes. It's helped our graduation rate, but I don't think it's helped our kids' education or instruction.
No, I didn't.
And we're paying for those, right?
Well, we can, yeah.
The addendum contract.
And a teacher.
Yes.
And we don't get full tuition for that online courses, do we?
Well, they're here, I don't know how that exactly
But I mean,
breaks down.
we're paying
Yeah, we're
paying
paying,
for
we're
that.
paying
Yeah,
the Edmentum contract that we
Yeah, I
have.
guess that's what I'm-
Yeah, we're paying the contract for them to take those courses.
yeah.
I guess I was going two different directions with that. One is I was thinking, okay, do we have a teacher, you know, a licensed teacher sitting in the classroom, do we have to, or can that be covered with an aide and the teacher be redeployed to something
No,
else,
we
right?
have- we
To
have-
get away from a teacher sitting there, you know, while kids watch online. And then the second part of my thought was just, in general, like, is it feasible to deploy that and then, you know, like, I'm gonna use government and don't lock me into this. If everybody took government online, you know, would it be more cost effective than government here? And I think you're saying that education isn't as good, I get that.
That's a good point too. I mean, there are schools that, especially in social studies, have utilized like global campus to do a class. So yeah, like with our health class, we're looking at doing health 100% online. It's
Right.
a really hard class to match up because it's a semester course, and so that eliminates a teacher.
That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking. Like, can we go to like certain classes that, you know, maybe.
Yeah, we could.
And say, and look, I'm not evaluating the education, I'm just kind of thinking of the cost side, right? Is, you know, we got this model where these classes are taken online, you know, you don't get a full-time teacher on those, we're gonna redeploy those teachers to whatever we need, right? And
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's certain classes you
Another
could do
option to
that
look at.
with. You just have to make sure you have a really good, robust program, and Edmentum's not always it. Like Indiana Online is typically more robust, but then again, it's also more expensive, so there's that.
Is that what Martinsville's got? Because I got a couple of kids that, well, it's caught a lot of traction because I know at least 3 kids from Plainfield in high school are Martinsville students because they get their home school or their, you know, but they don't have a teacher live. So they'll work like 3 days straight, you know, on their schoolwork, and then they'll work 2 days. And he's like 16, and he said he's got 3 other buddies because they live in Plainfield. So that's just new, that's like this month.
So they live in Plainfield, but they're
They
taking
go
courses through Martinsville?
Yes, and it's a full-time, so he didn't know how it was gonna roll out until after, the start of the
Sounds
semester,
like
but
it's
he said,
probably their online school, I would guess.
yeah, he said there's nobody, like, he can do it at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I'm sure
So there was,
their online
that's why they
school.
picked there, cause there was only one, but he said it's
Yeah.
got like 3 other of his buddies are doing it, and
Yep.
I was just asking him questions, I don't think it's very educational, but.
I was just putting out there as another idea.
Yeah, yeah.
That might
Nobody
need to be
watching.
evaluated, right?
And actually, while we're on that subject, something I did not put on here because we actually just had this conversation late was we're gonna have to really limit summer school, which that's pretty much high school. Now, elementary still has to have summer school for kids that need the remediation for iRead, that's mandatory. But high school, summer school, we're pretty much gonna limit it to kids who maybe need that credit recovery, maybe they didn't pass something during the school year that they need to. In the past, we've been paying for AP courses to be taken and stuff like that, and we just can't afford it because we don't get the reimbursement from the state. I mean, we're getting less than 50% of the money back that we put into it for that, so probably have to limit summer school quite a bit. I'm thinking that'd probably be a $20,000 savings, something like that, 25 maybe.
Okay. Do we have plans around, I mean, I know we've kind of touched on transportation, we've touched on the education, what about like the central offices, those things, is there areas for restructuring there?
We're
gonna-
coming up on operations
Okay.
right now, so we haven't talked about operations. That was all ed fund.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to get
Nope,
ahead.
you're good. I'm ready to go there.
Sorry.
Yep, nope, go ahead.
So, I think I probably wrote it down, but it was transferring a special ed teacher from the middle school to the elementary. And then we're not, possibility of not backfilling 2 existing
Teachers.
teachers?
So I put in possibility of not backfilling 2 at the high school and possibility of 1 at the middle school.
Yeah, but the 2 positions we're not backfilling at the elementary school, one was Corey. What is
Corey
she?
Shields and Tricia Kaufman, they're multilingual teachers.
Now, are any of those positions, are we required to have so many? You know,
Not a requirement. Now, there's probably a best practice that we're gonna have to look at and see how we can get creative and best help those kids.
Well, Trish Kaufman, that is really taken by, Laura Pearson. So,
Yeah.
but Laura Pearson's first grade position, we wouldn't possibly, we don't.
Thank you.
It's like different.
Depending on what scenario you wanna
Yeah,
go with,
so,
yeah.
So we still have some multilingual.
Yeah. Correct, we still
teaching in
got,
our building.
yeah.
Yes.
So what's,
Sorry
so
about
what's
that.
the total position loss in elementary? We've got 2 potential in the high school, 1 potential in
Well-
elementary. What's the total we're looking at?
I think in most of those scenarios, it was 3 to 4 teachers, wasn't it? Not backfilling?
Not that many.
Let me see what I have.
Possibly 3.
Possibly 3.
Mhm.
So those 2 and 1.
Not, no, I wasn't counting those 2. I thought beyond that, because I thought that counted as ML. I'll take those 2.
So 5.
Yeah,
How many?
5.
there's a possibility of 5 retirements, but nothing's official, so, but I can't not fill all those positions.
Yeah.
But
They
that's,
still exist.
yeah, that's gonna put you to 30 in a classroom at a minimum.
But you could potentially have savings between salary ranges, right?
Yes.
I
and
mean, if
have
you hire
a
first-year
document
teachers
that
versus
shows
somebody that's been here
that.
30
Right.
years, right, you're gonna
Yeah.
have a savings there.
Or, yeah, or aides or something.
So while we're talking about, I was actually gonna talk about this, and thanks for bringing up the retirements again. One thing that's absolutely gonna help, and we've been putting it out there, that is if you know you're gonna retire, the quicker you get that, the quicker it helps us make a lot of these decisions. Cause if we wait until, well, I think it's April 1st when they're supposed to let us know, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's gonna help greatly. If we hit April 1st and we don't have the retirements we think we're gonna get, then that changes the game, and then we're looking at the possibility of rifts. There's no way around it, and that would hit, May 1st is the timeline for that, May 1st to June 1st. So I'm just throwing that out there. Don't wanna do that, but it's a possibility. Okay, operations. Once again, if we eliminate perf and increase that 403B match like we did for anybody that's paid out of the education fund, that would possibly be an operations fund savings of $95,000.
So is it, so 95,000 on the operations from the elimination of
Yep,
perf?
yep.
95K.
Yep.
That takes into account for what we, the 6% that we would pay for the.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so I mean,
Something else we threw in here because we're looking at everything. We currently donate $14,000 to the Morgan County Foundation for scholarships. That money comes from the cell tower. That'd be $14,000 we would save if we did not do that. We could actually pay phone bills with that and stuff like that.
That's the same foundation they're running the Google money through.
Mm-hmm.
They got enough.
So that's $109,000 that could possibly be saved there. Admin office, we have already not backfilled the 5-star technician Dave that left. And that's a savings of about $30,000.
who would do those duties though?
Most of that's moving to Sam.
Sam.
We've already eliminated the sub-calling program we had through CIESC, so that's a savings of $13,000.
Who's doing that now?
Kelly, Kazee.
If every school board member would sub, we could save money that way also. Just telling you.
Then I put in here possible reorganization, reduction in hours. You want to talk about what you've been talking with me about?
I am definitely going to retire June of 27. So,
But you're only 53.
I wish. And I would even be willing to work less hours this next year and take a pay cut if needed. My husband and I are probably going to move to Florida, and we'd like to have long weekends to be able to see what we want to do. That's just a possibility, but I think it gives the central office a chance to maybe see if there needs to be some restructuring there. because this isn't a position that you don't wanna have some training, and we've been doing a lot of cross-training anyway. You know, you don't wanna, I wanna give you notice so that you know it needs to be filled and you can do something.
Is your corporate treasurer, do they have to be full-time? You know?
No, there's nothing that says you have to have a full-time treasurer or anything like that. Matter of fact, there's some smaller school corporations that definitely, I've seen it done before, where they sometimes work 3 days a week or whatever, depending on how big of a budget they have and stuff like that. Now, it's not very often you see that, but yeah, there's nothing that says you have to have somebody full-time.
And honestly, there's certain times of the year where I would still have to work. I mean, you know, when you're doing the Form 9 and in January, when you're doing W-2s and 1095s, and, you know, that is not gonna be a month where I'm gonna be working part-time, but then there are months where I definitely could.
So just in that stuff right there, $63,000 possible savings there, but more conversations to be had with possible reorganization. Transportation, Manette just gave you that. You want to talk through any of that, Manette, or? And feel free to, but you don't have to. They can look over it if you want to, but basically what I asked Manette to do is we're just kind of coming up with numbers that we felt we needed. So I asked her to try to cut $150,000 out of transportation. So that was her goal to do. So she's given us some scenarios there.
I did not make my goal.
Just,
I can't make my goal.
just a question, the information we were sent, it was reduce special education transportation midday routes by 1/2.
So special ed, so I don't have control over how much we spend in special education. If Justin calls and says, we need to transport a kid home at 10 o'clock.
You have to do it.
I have to do it. And we transport all day long. We have kids that go to school 2 hours, we have kids that go to school 4 hours, we have kids that leave at 1 o'clock. So that's all day long. So that right there, it wouldn't be a huge savings, but it would be, you know, every little bit helps. So if you would combine those, and we're gonna take a kid home half a day, then we take 3 kids home half a day. We don't just take one and then come back and get the other one 30 minutes later.
Yeah,
Well,
so
that would be a savings.
Yeah, so that one we have to talk more with Dustin about.
Dustin,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And I've talked to him about that. The other thing is, they had mentioned that we might do this staggered, start time. I don't see how, I really don't think we can make that fly and make any kind of cost savings, just because, yes, you're gonna have fewer drivers, but those drivers aren't gonna drive double the amount of time for the same amount of pay. And then we double the fuel, so that's all in your paper too, that I gave you. The biggest thing would be if we went to the 4 days, that would be the biggest savings for the transportation department that we can come up with. And on top of going to 4 days, which we would do this anyway, we do double routes in Homestead. Those drivers aren't on the road long enough. They're not on the road as long as all of our regular routes. So we can double them up and not replace them. So that's the biggest savings we can do without going 4 days. But if you did both those things, it'd be pretty awesome. I know bus drivers make pretty good money on the hour, but their average salaries are on there, and they just don't make that much. So you can cut 3 of them, and it's just not gonna be that big of a savings. Now, I don't know what when I put all that stuff together, I don't know what it costs to have their benefits. I did look through some stuff today, and benefits are quite a bit, they're quite a bit more than I would have guessed, honestly. And not just from bus drivers, but for everybody. And that's the other thing, most of our bus drivers don't take benefits. I don't know.
Except they're all on perf.
And I couldn't really go, pardon me?
Except they're all on perf.
That's what I was gonna ask. I didn't know, like, when
They're
I
all-
grew up, it was a lot of
That kinda hurts my
farmers'
heart to
wives
get
that were
away
doing
from
it for
perf.
insurance. So it's not the
And
same
I'm gonna
thing.
tell you why that hurts my heart about perf. A lot of us come here a long time ago, and we came here to be at school where our kids were, and where we could be on their schedule and do these things. And I didn't come here thinking I was gonna have a retirement or anything. I came here because this is where my kids went to school, and this is what worked with their schedule, and this allowed me to be able to have an income, and do what I thought was best. So, you know, we get on down the road, and I've had multiple drivers now, because a lot of our drivers, I wanna go back 5 years ago, didn't even know they had benefits. I know that's sad, but nobody really talked to them about their PERP and their 403B. And, you know, they're just amazed. I mean, I came here to drive because I needed insurance, or I came here to drive so I could be with my kids, and I have a retirement. I mean, that's a big deal. So we talk to all of them about that now. And that's just huge, you know? It is. I wanna retire too, and,
Yeah.
you know, and
And they still could, but they might have to,
Chip in a little bit.
yeah. I mean, right now, they have to put in 3%
Regardless.
in perf. Again, they have no choice. They have to put 3% in perf.
And I think a lot of your young staff doesn't even realize what that's gonna do for them 30 years down the road, you know? We don't make big money, but we do have some good perks, and that's one of them. And the other thing that would retain people, it's another good perk, is 4 days a week. It's gonna be huge for morale. Not to mention, we could be on the cutting edge, like, you got Paul Kaiser, who loves to be first to do things.
Yep.
And we're already trying to get him to lead us to do some other things, and you get him on board, and I say this all the time, and I tell him this, he could sell ice cream in a snowstorm. He could sell this, and we could go to 4 days, and we'd be on the news, and we'd be out there for positive things. There are gonna be kids that are gonna wanna come here, and we need to increase our numbers.
And the quicker we jump on it before
Because
someone else does.
Somebody else will,
Yeah.
I guarantee it. Somebody else is already looking to do it. They're all out there talking about it.
Do you think the majority of schools don't already go for that because it's so hard to get past the DOE, or do you think it's just because it's a hard sell to the community? Because if we're talking
Right.
about one elementary school in Lafayette, right, it's our example. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I'm just, what's the
Indiana,
realistic?
It's not as,
Yeah.
What's the-
but it's coming this way.
What
Yeah.
makes it so hard?
I think it's just, it's so different. I think it's just, you know, it's not as big of a deal in Indiana. Not many people are doing it. Where
We're
you have
just
other
trying.
states where lots of schools are doing it. So I think it's just that the unknown, fear of the unknown type of thing.
I think it's becoming more and more intriguing to people after COVID hit, and all of a sudden we have a generation of young people that are working from home. They are working from remote, or they're working remotely, and so I think teachers and parents, that whole mindset has shifted a little bit since COVID, and so this idea of, well, I work 3 days and I stay home 2 days, I think that is intriguing to teachers. I think parents, the majority of parents, I think, like that idea. I have a cousin outside of Houston, and they are on year 2 of a 4-day week. And she said it has been phenomenal. She said the kids are rested, behavior is better. She said they already worked under an extended day contract, so they already had PD built in. So she said they added about 35 minutes to their day, and they work 1 Friday a month. And the other 3 Fridays, teachers can set their appointments. They can do PD or whatever they have if they're working on a class. They have their own time that they can work on that. So I think it's just a shift in mindset after COVID, when the whole virtual thing and working from home. I think people are more open to the 4-day week now.
The second time that Jerry Wolf was here, there were, I think, 5 schools in the state that petitioned to go to a 4-day, and DOE shut it down. And I asked Jerry, I said, why do you think that is? He said, because they're sitting in their ivory towers, and the people who are supposed to be the most innovative are the most traditionalist. And I think you're right. I think it's changing. I think, they're seeing that if they're gonna put limitations on us, they need to give us some leeway on some things. So, I don't know what the process would be, but I think we need to, if that's what we decide to do, we need to move on it very quickly. I mean, not just knee-jerk reaction, but, if looking at deficits and all, we've got to find some things to bring us around in the black more.
With food, are we contracted with the food service regardless of the days? Like a daycare, regardless of what you take your kid there, you gotta pay for the whole month. Is that like in the food service, or if we
No,
don't go
there'd
to
be
school
some
that
cost
Friday or
savings there
Monday?
because there's
I mean,
less food they'd be
Right.
having to
I
buy
didn't know
for
if it was
us.
just-
There's gonna be less
Does that save a little bit?
less labor costs, so we should see some savings there.
I'm gonna say something about bus drivers right now, that, I mean, every classroom is, we're talking about an average size of a classroom of 25 to 30 kids. So imagine that teacher teaching that class with their back to them and driving. So the average bus driver hauls 40 kids. And I know the bus drivers don't make nothing, but you gotta remember they haul 40 kids with their back to them, and they gotta concentrate on the road.
Right.
You know, so, I know the bus drivers don't make that, and then with the perf thing, so when we told our custodians that we was gonna go to a staffing company, that you could apply to the staffing company, we lost some of our custodians because of perf. Some of them had 8 years in, maybe had 2 more years to get invested. So they went to Plainfield to get your other 2 years in.
And Minette, you said that they didn't even know they had, you know, I was just like, when I grew up, I always thought that a lot of the farmers' wives did it for insurance. Well, I know Francine did it for sure, because Bruce said that she didn't make any money. It was just a big, you know, for insurance for the families or whatever. So is that not like, is it kind of changing to where, do
I
you
don't
see
know
more or
how-
less people wanting insurance, or?
I don't know how many of our bus drivers take insurance, but she's a prime example of back in the day.
Yeah, because it was literally like
Yes,
farmers'
she
wives
drove
did
for
it, and they just,
insurance.
they didn't really care about retirement. It was more healthcare.
But she was one that, to this day, will say, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna give me money for
Yeah, she
the
did.
rest of my life."
She did. You told her that a long time ago. She didn't remember it.
And something else about bus drivers, I'm gonna touch on bus drivers, cause Manette won't. So her and Dave drives about, one of them drives about every day. And there's a juggling act that Manette does every day. She's got a piece of paper out that tells you who's driving for who today. I mean, it's not one person on there, I'm gonna say there's 4 per day this week. Last week, we had a day, there was 8 per day, but we was doing a double route, because we were short of bus drivers, though we cut bus drivers. So we was doing a double route, because we couldn't backfill, or Manette and Dave both was driving. So I'm just gonna take what happened 3 years ago, all right? And we had a wreck right down the road, a lot of you guys know that, all right? If, the head of transportation said it's not a good idea for your transportation director to be on the road, because if you have that, she has to make all the phone calls, because we learn a lot about ourselves and a lot about what we have to do. Those kids can't be picked up at the wreck, they gotta come back to school. And you have to call every parent and get everyone released. We learned that day. Manette won't brag on herself, but she does a juggling act that you guys will not believe. And I see it every day, not just one day a week. And we call Francine a lot. Francine, can you drive? Manette don't like to do that. Manette would just rather do it herself. So, and I tell her every day, Manette, you need to be here. You need to be here. Because if something happens, the worst happens, they have to call, or, you know, a bus driver's out there and something happens, a bus breaks down, you know, we gotta send another bus out there to them. So I just think, I know we need to make cuts, I understand that.
But do you think the 4-day would benefit, like help them? Like, I mean, I'm reading it, you know, if we.
Actually, the 4-day, yeah, today, we had a bus driver that told us he drove from Martinsville, he's been here now for a year. He made his doctor's appointment for him and his wife 2 months ago. He took off 1 day in 3 years in Martinsville. He felt bad about taking off today because he had a doctor's appointment today, because he made it 2 months ago for his physical, because there was supposed to be no school today. So he made that doctor's appointment today, and then he wanted to keep driving. Manette had to know, just go ahead and go to the doctor, we got it covered. And we covered it with the driver that normally does, Sanders or Ben Davis, so that's who we covered it with today.
Because they didn't go to school.
Because they
Yeah.
didn't go to school today.
So what you're saying is Minette cannot retire. Okay.
And what you said there, that was kind of another,
I think you need another full-time driver, and I'd like to be that.
that's kind of another selling point on the 4-day week, is it gives everybody a scheduled day every week that they could schedule their appointments or doctor, and then that's a lot more teachers that you're gonna have in class not only just saving substitutes on one day, but
Right.
several days throughout the.
So there's additional, do they have, like, if you have a regular bus route, you're just twice a day, right?
Pardon me?
Like, if you just, like, is there, I see school buses all day long, you said they never stop, I do them, I've never seen how many school buses, like, at all hours. But like, there's some drivers that have a route, and they're just twice a day? Because I know France used to get a route done and go shopping all day, you know, so, but it, you know, I didn't know they were just calling them like, hey, you gotta get over here.
No.
Okay.
We definitely have people that
Yeah.
just drive in the morning and drive in the afternoon.
Because then I just seen all all the time on 70. I mean, like you said, I never knew how many times we had people, like, that's crazy amount of people on the road, like, all the time. It would be weird hours of the time. Like,
Yeah, special ed's a huge.
so that's what it is
I mean,
most
it's
of
just a huge, I hate to say it, it's a huge burden.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about that 4-day and the bus stuff? I'm just looking at the sheet you gave, I just wanna make sure I understand it, so. You've got current salary, 4-day schedule, right? And I think you're saying right now it's $454,500, they're kind of a third of the way down on the page on the left.
Okay, say that again now.
Like a third of the way down on the page on the left, you've got 27 routes times $93 times 181 days, it's $454,000 cost per year. That's kind of current, right? That's current state.
That is what we are
You're
doing.
saying if we go to 4 days, it's 27 times 93 times 150, 376. So just moving to 4 days saves $78,000, the difference between those two numbers.
Yes.
Correct. And then if we were to double up in Homestead, that's another $51,000, which would take us to $129,000. If we did a 4-day schedule plus 51,000, is that, am I reading that?
I came up, my numbers might be off, but I
Yeah.
came up with 119.
Yeah, no, I saw that, but like, I'm taking the number below where we said,
Yes.
I mean, the one below, we just said if we did Homestead right now, it's 51, so
Yes.
somewhere between $120,000, $130,000, right? Okay.
And when I say that savings, if we would do, doubles in Homestead, I'm confident, I shouldn't say confident, I'm not confident about anything they do. We will probably lose 3 drivers, but one way, shape, or another. I got one that's gonna retire, not anything in writing, I'm still suffering like the principals, and they're not gonna tell me till the last minute, but, and we got a couple that I don't know how they could possibly stay. So when I say that, when they leave, hopefully I won't have to tell somebody you don't have a job.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we just won't replace those 3 by
Right.
doing doubles in Homestead.
There's 4 buses that go in Homestead.
I think
There's
more than that, yeah,
there's
6.
7.
7.
There's
You know, like in Indy, when I'm working in Indy, which it's different, I'm not saying it's good or bad, it's probably bad. But like, they go to subdivisions and they're off. Every kid gets off of that subdivision. They don't go in those subdivisions.
Oh, yes, I know.
It's crazy.
And we
Which,
do
I
have
mean, I know
some-
it's not safe, but
We do have subdivisions that we don't go in,
Okay.
obviously.
That's crazy.
Echo Lake and,
I mean, that's a no, it's a
Heart
lot.
Lake and, what's it, Briarwood.
Yeah.
Hard to get buses
You know,
in there.
place they're a little upset about.
Because it's like, we'll be working in a neighborhood and there'll be like a school line there waiting for their
Yeah, but
kids.
can you imagine that? There's
Oh,
no way
it'd be
we
a
could just
disaster.
It's
drop
too
off
big
home.
there.
Yes, it's too
But
big.
you've got drop-offs there, I mean, I see it all the time, right? I mean, you're not going to every house,
Yeah, I mean, we could
I
reduce,
see it there.
we could reduce drivers and it's like, okay, you're gonna have to
Yes,
walk
yes.
a little bit more, Johnny.
So-
But I'd like to talk about that for a second, why the principals are in here too. So it's really hard on Melissa, and they've been great over at the elementary. Right now, we're running a double route in Homestead because we're short a driver that's out on medical leave. And it was just the easiest way to cover it in the morning. So we're dropping off a group of kids, one bus early to them every day. And they have to cover that. I mean, they have to monitor them somehow. And so I know they're kind of against that, and I don't blame them, they don't have the staff to cover it. But I was looking at the times that we drop off as opposed to the times that we actually start school. So I think we can get creative and do that a little bit differently if we move to that. That would be easier and I'm not excluding the high school, middle school, it's just easier on them, I feel like. But, the elementary's really hard to corral those kind of kids.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? I mean, look, I live in Homestead, I see the bus come at 7:25 or at 7:20, whatever time it is, right? So I mean, you would just run an earlier route, like at 7:05
They
or,
drop off at
at
7:15.
so like
right
you'd
now
do
what
that
we
and then they'd turn around and run right back to
Right.
Homestead. And,
They stay in the lobby.
yeah, but you wouldn't like, I mean, like, you'd pick up this street at 7:10 and this street at 7:15. It wouldn't be like you go to every bus stop at both times and kids just getting on where they want, right? I mean,
We
it'd
just
be
don't
like
have that
defined,
for
right?
sure.
And then you'd bring them over here, we drop them off, and what's it look like once they're here?
Right now with one bus, we're corralling them in the foyer. So, the day, for staff, the contracted day is until 7:20. And so, between myself and Lindsay and Jill, we're just watching kids. But when we have more than one bus, we have to go to the cafeteria, like, in the past, when we had, in the afternoon, and it's a lot. Yeah.
What would it look like, and I'm just trying to get the numbers, like, I'm just trying to understand the thing. So if we ran double routes on Homestead, right, like, how many kids would be in the building, 20 minutes earlier? And I guess by building, right, you'd probably have, like, I mean, I guess the question is,
all six, or all seven?
no, I guess I'm thinking
So
like
it
if,
would be three-
I guess I'm trying to think like, okay, if there's 300 kids in Homestead and in the elementary, you're gonna get 150 of them
that.
15 minutes earlier, right?
A
I guess I'm
number of
trying to figure out like,
staff in the cafeteria to, it's not as if they come in the building and we can send them to their
Right.
classroom, because the
Right.
teachers,
Don't have to be there.
yeah, they
Yeah,
don't
no.
have to be there yet. So they would have to go at that number into the cafeteria, and that would be like having a full lunchroom of kids, so we would need multiple staff at that point.
and that's what I'm asking, I guess, that's what I'm trying to get at.
And what we will have to do if we go with that plan, if the first Friday, or the second Friday of the month, we have our staff meeting, and our staff comes in at 7, even though they're not contracted to, but we wouldn't be able to have staff meetings, because we would have to watch kids.
What would it look like going home at the end of the
They're in
day?
cafeteria.
You would hold them in the cafeteria, send one bus out, drop kids off, come back, get them, and then go back.
And then just call the bus when they're pulling in, and we line them up to take them out.
There was some
But
better
if we did that,
traffic
we would have to
control.
adjust those times that would work better for the elementary and also be more structured so that it's all happening at the same time, not this bus pulled up or this bus pulled up. I mean, it's gonna have to be like a third. We call them waves. You know, we rotate, we call it a second wave, first wave, whatever. This would have to be like a third wave, honestly.
Do we send buses to every house, like in Monroe? I see a lot of kids walking in Monroe. Do we pick up the kids in, like,
We do.
the old part of Monroe?
We're not,
We
I've
don't
always
want
been told we
walkers
weren't
for
allowed
our
to do that.
elementary, because we don't have the sidewalks or crossing guards.
One more piece of the puzzle we haven't talked about is maintenance and custodial. So tomorrow, we have a meeting with one of the companies that bid on the RFP we put out for maintenance and custodial. They are really the only ones I've seen on paper from the bids we received that possibly look like there's some cost savings. Everybody else, we kind of put together, like when we were at full force with custodial, maintenance, even with, what did we even pay? Like, what did we pay for chemicals and paper products and that sort of thing? And figured up about how much we paid in a year. Most of those companies were above that, so there really wasn't any cost savings. However, there's one company that on their base bid looks like they came under a decent amount. We're meeting with them tomorrow for them to walk us through their RFP, so that, like, listen, what exactly are we getting for that money? Because it seems like I think I know, but I want to hear it out of their mouth and show me where it says in there that we have that. So hopefully after tomorrow, we're gonna have an idea of where we're headed with that. Is it cost savings and they're gonna be able to provide us everything we've asked for, or do we have to take it back on ourselves and figure out what we're doing there?
Does the $4.4 million that we have in the budget for 2026 cash flow projections for operations fund, does that have, I know we were spending like $1 million on custodial, right? And we made some cuts there, and I know they're not popular, but we made some cuts there and we were saving, a few $100,000, right?
In 25.
And carry over in 26, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like right now, it would be in 26 as number 2.
Mhm.
Is the $4.4 million assuming that those costs are out, or are they in? And what I'm thinking is, if you're thinking about a contract, we might actually be increasing costs, which makes the gap even bigger, right? I mean, like, if we've only got $300,000 of custodial cost in the 4.4 million, and we hire somebody to do it for 700,000 or whatever the number is, right? We're actually increasing that. It means the cuts have to be bigger. Does that make sense? Like number wise? I guess I'm just trying to figure out the baseline that we're saying we need to save 600,000 of. Does it have the custodials in, or are we looking at, we gotta save more than 600,000? Do you see what I'm saying? I don't know if I said that very well.
Yeah, I'd have to look
I
into
meant to say
that.
it differently.
Yeah,
You went back and pulled all the expenses for a year, right?
Yes.
And I think that's what we're comparing comparing, that's what you're probably comparing to, like what you guys were spending for an entire calendar.
Right, but this number might be already cut, because we made cuts to custodial, right?
That number is already cut.
So if you take like an average year on top of a number that's been cut, you're actually making the gap bigger, right? Which means the savings isn't, I mean, it means that $400,000 isn't really $400,000 if we did the custodial contract. Am I thinking of that right? I know I didn't explain that very well. I can try again if I need to.
Well, I think the number that you're looking at, I'm not sure exactly what that number
It says projected expenses for 2026
It's what
cash
we
flow.
were appropriated.
No, he says he's looking at projected expenses.
Yeah, but that's pretty much,
Pretty close, right?
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
I'm just saying if the 4.3 has already got, we've already baked in the cuts in janitorial service, and now we're putting janitorial costs back on. That really isn't 4.3, it's 4.6 or something like that, right? I mean, that number would go up.
I didn't think the cost was that much more.
I don't think it is against
What-
what we used to pay. I think that, I don't know
But what
about
we
what we're
currently
paying now. Yeah, I guess that's the
Do
question.
we know what that?
we didn't have a full year of savings,
Right,
basically. So even though I could say this is what we spent last year,
right,
that wasn't a full year of savings
Right.
from our cuts.
right. But you could have it in here as a full year of savings, right?
So you're
This is
saying
2026 projections.
you're saying that this 438 could be bigger because it's not a full year, but you're also saying that it's not going to be because
I think it
those
could
cuts
be-
aren't going to be as big.
I think it could be less because I think the 4.3 could be deflated because right now that reflects.
'Cause we're projecting it, we're
a
spending
lower
less on
janitorial
it.
spend than what the contract would be, right?
Bottom line is, the 4.3 is deflated for sure, because we spent 5 million this last year with, and the year before. I don't think there's any way we can just spend 4.3.
No, I get that, but we started out by saying we have to save 600,000,
300,000.
300 there, right? But I'm saying, are we eating that 300,000 by just doing the janitorial contract? I mean, are we right back to the thing, we really need to do 600 to get 300,000 to cut? That's what I guess I'm asking,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we gotta do
Yeah.
600,000 to cuts to get 300 savings because we're gonna put janitorial in because what we did isn't really working. I think everybody would kind of agree to that,
Yes.
so.
that would definitely have to be evaluated.
I'm just saying, I think it's a different number there.
I want Chad to talk real quick because he knew we were having this meeting, and I asked him to come because he has an idea of something we might be able to do with the bond appropriation that we already have. So I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I just told Trent, this is not the long-term fix, this is a short-term payment, for just the cash balance is getting. The board authorized last year 6-ish million in bond issuances. You guys issued last year 3-ish million. So you have roughly 3 million left that you can issue under the authorization in 26. And you guys had planned on issuing that. We've had some schools, this is just one of the tools in the toolbox, that normally when you issue municipal bonds, they are tax exempt, meaning they are tax exempt to the investor, not the school district. And so if you're investing in municipal bonds on the investor side, you can, you're willing to accept a little lower interest rate because you're not paying taxes on the capital gains. You can also issue municipal bonds on a taxable basis, meaning they're taxable to the investor. That means that the investor wants a higher interest rate, so you're gonna pay a little higher interest rate to issue them taxable. The flexibility that you can get with issuing them taxable is that, and again, this is something we'd have to work with Kristen McClellan from Ice Miller on, because she would have to kind of bless the list that I'm getting ready to talk about and bless the process. I have already had one conversation with her about it, and she said you could use the existing authorization to do this. You can actually go back and you can issue the bonds, let's say it's 3 million, and you can reimburse your operations fund for any expenses that Kristen says is okay that have been purchased out of the operations fund in the past. And she would give you a set amount of time that you could look back, and she would give you kind of a guideline of the expenses that you could look at. You then issue the bonds, it gets receipted into a bond fund. We get the list approved, and you just transfer the money from the bond fund over to operations. So it gives a one-time cash infusion into the operations fund of dollars. And that would allow us to use that to operate off of for a little while. Mariah just kind of went back and did some digging today, and she said she just at a glance found 2.5 million roughly of things that we've bought out of the operations fund in the past. So it's not a fix to the problem. The cuts still have to be made. It's more helps cash flow. It helps us in the short term with not letting our balances get any lower than the 8%. I kind of did a rough projection out that if no cuts were made, no future pay raises were given, if we could get 2.5 to 3 million into the operations fund, it helps balances out through about 2027, but it wouldn't get us through 2028. So, just a tool in the toolbox. We've had a handful of schools utilize it that are like you guys, where cash balances have gotten kind of to a point where like, this is too low, we're running into more of a cash flow issue, because that's really what we've got to monitor moving forward with you guys, is that we don't get upside down from a cash flow standpoint.
Can we run parallel paths? Like I get the cash flow piece, right? But I also am leery of that as the solution to, I mean, I
Yeah,
know it's not the solution to our
that's
problem,
what it's-
but it can mask the problem,
It
right?
can
And
mask
people
the
think the
problem.
problem's not there, and I can see people saying, oh, yeah, in 28, we're gonna get more funding. I mean,
Yeah,
structurally, we
you
have
still
to do something.
keep on this path.
Right, it's
Yeah.
like a parallel path.
Yeah.
But, like, can we like say if we wanted to use $1 million of that, if we wanted to, can you do like $1 million?
Yep.
And not pull the trigger on it,
Yep.
and just kinda get it set
Yep.
that way?
Yep.
To keep the cash balances from
Yep,
going too low?
you've already authorized the bonds. So yes, you could say, hey, we're gonna hold off on this until 27. Yes, it's just a tool in the toolbox that I wanted to let you guys know was
Yeah,
there.
the trade-off is you can't do projects that you were gonna use that money for. I mean, the chiller doesn't get
Yeah,
fixed, or
I
the
mean,
roof
but
doesn't get fixed.
you've authorized 3, you have 3-ish
Mhm.
outstanding. You could put $1 million kind of over here for taxable and do 2 million of projects. You know, you
Right.
could split it up that way.
Right, but you can't get more bond money for 2 more years, right?
Um,
Cause I thought that's why we did the 6 million, cause House Bill 1 or Senate Bill 1 made it so you could only
Yeah,
do it every
we
2
just-
years or something.
we have to get your debt service tax rate below the 70 cents, then you can.
Could we not, if it was all transferred into the operations, could you not use that funding for the project? If something came up, I mean, it's not,
You could, yes, you could. The only negative to that is you would be issuing it all taxable, and so you would pay more in interest. And if you're just gonna use it for projects, then I would rather you not pay
but
as
just
much.
like,
But yes,
if
from
emergency came, if you.
yes, from a flexibility standpoint, I mean, to go to what Kai's saying is, let's say you did the 3 million in all taxable. You could leave 2 million of it in the bond fund projects and transfer only $1 million over to operations. Yes, but it's sitting there for flexibility.
Yeah, so it's cash flow versus cost.
It's cash flow versus solving the problem.
And the cost,
Yep.
the interest is higher, right? So you're gonna pay more to do.
At that point, you're just forgetting about the interest costs, and you're saying, we need this from a cash flow standpoint.
Okay.
So that's what I had for you tonight.
Is there, I don't even know, I don't even know if you could even answer, I don't know. Obviously, this is all the cuts just to scrape by, to be right back into trouble again, to scrape by. Not gloom and doom, but we're not getting the job done, we're not educating our kids like we should, we can't make these cuts and education get better. I mean, it's not gonna, well, I guess it could, I don't see how it can get better. Is there anything else we can do other than this? What's the other path?
Referendum? I think the income side, right? How do we
So-
increase the income?
So my question.
Referendums.
And by no means am I saying this, but I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, at what point do you Can I even talk about this now? I don't know.
Talk about a referendum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So at what point do we go, okay, these are the options that we can make to try to get through? Or focus all our energy in getting correct information out, correct story, sell it, and sell a referendum to fix this? I mean, that's the fix. I don't think we would have, Monrovia gets support. I think it's out there. I think if people got accurate information by multiple people that's getting the same, not story, but it is the story, I think, I hate to see us make all these cuts and still have to pass a referendum. So now we've really lost a lot of ground on the education side to turn around to have to, which we would be hiring people, hiring people back. But I just, all this effort and all these decisions, now, I guess the downside is if you do that and it doesn't go through, we're in big trouble. But I think we're in big trouble anyways. And I don't want that to be heard or misconstrued anything other than I'm panicking, to be honest with you.
Well, we've got to get through 26.
Right.
And even if we pass a referendum, that helps us in 27. We got to get through 26.
Yeah, but we're 2 months into 26.
We are, but
I know.
we're not going to have any money at the end of.
We're probably not going to have no money into 27 if we don't do it. I mean, I just don't.
I'm with you.
I mean, it's a can that we're kicking down the curb.
I don't see any other option.
I just don't. With him, I don't see any other option. I'm sorry. I think, in my opinion, I would be to the point I got to get another job to go with the job that I have. Well, a referendum is getting another job to go with the job we already have. None of this is our fault. I mean, or it's all our fault. I don't know, on that, but it is our responsibility to fix it. And I just,
I
don't.
think the referendum keeps us from doing this again next year.
So
But I
we
think-
don't, and I'm just saying,
think we have
we
to
don't
do
have the
something
cash to gamble and say, let's run with what we got. Maybe not replace people if they retire. If they retired or something, just roll with it. But I just, I'm sorry, I
If you wanted to take us
just.
to zero, if you wanted to use all the rainy day and we have nothing, that's scary to me.
To me, I'm willing to do it. I just don't, I know that's banking and gambling on getting one passed, but I'm telling you, if we put, because here, and this is my opinion, we don't need a referendum to get us back to where we were. We need a referendum that gets us back to where we were, plus something, so we can start excelling.
Yeah.
And you can forget everything, all the fancy stuff, when it comes down to it, our test scores that's what we gotta improve that. Well, now, all you guys know, I'm not,
You're preaching to the choir.
I'm not trying to sell it, but I'm just sitting here going,
Yeah, I don't think.
I just disagree. I'm more of a all in. I'm sorry, all in. We gotta sell it. We gotta come up with a plan. People are gonna pay more, but I don't know that you're gonna pay that much more. I pay taxes. I don't even know what that increase would be, but we need to find out, what the average increase would be for a $400,000 home. What's the average increase for 100 acres of farm ground? And people can do simple math and figure out, is it costing them $700 more a year, or is it gonna cost them $7,000 more a year? I think it's not the 7,000. I think it's the 700 or 800.
So
I don't know.
I've got a phone call this week with Barry Gardner from Policy Analytics. To get the type of information you're asking for, we're probably gonna have to go through them to do that type of thing. It's not gonna be free, but
Sometimes you gotta spend money to.
I agree.
What was that
Didn't
guy
they
that
give
was
kind of a
with
ballpark
Dr.
figure
Paul
of like
Kaiser that had all the
40,000 to
stats?
run a program?
Like, he was
I'm
with
sorry.
Mr. Kaiser here, and he was going by, like, they knew all, like, how many
Oh, yeah, I can't-
grandparents knew, like, they knew everybody in our school district, like, if they had
Yeah,
kids in that
I can't
district, how to
remember his
reach out
name,
to
but
them.
yeah, he works on referendums.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
I'm willing to spend a little money to get it passed.
I mean, if
It has to happen.
we could just get a card that's with facts on it, and pass them out. So these are the facts, because what you don't want is people. We want to make sure everybody's getting the same information, not what I thought it was going to be. Put it on a little reference card
Yeah, and Chad,
Buy
Kristen.
500 of them and pass them out. I mean, it's a point of contact and a point of conversation.
You want schools?
Put phone
you wanna
numbers
pay
on
$10
there,
more
put benefits to it, and
Chad, Kristen, myself, and Luke have a phone call. Is that next week? Or this week? No, it's this week. I don't know. I've got a lot of phone calls coming up, but we're gonna start talking about the whole, like, referendum thing too, because there's gonna be stuff that Ice Miller's gonna have to help us with, so.
I mean,
Well,
I don't
think-
see any other way.
I think another little fear is, I mean, you look at these things, there's a lot of it is based on what ifs. I mean, a lot of this was, I got 2 pages of notes on the 4-day school week, which is great, but it's still a what if. I mean, what's the hard number, you know, there's a reality behind that, like, these are all, they're not optimistic, but they're as optimistic as we can get.
Mhm.
But I'm assuming that there's worse alternatives.
The state takes school over.
And if the state takes the school over, I think you're looking at consolidation, because that's what they say they wanna do.
They wanna do it anyway.
So if they come in and take it over, I think that's where they're gonna try to lead it,
Yeah.
just an opinion, but.
I have a question, does it have to be just one thing? I mean, why can't it
Right.
be, we do with what Chad's saying, okay, that gets us floating. We go with the referendum, that gets us money ahead. But we still do some of these cuts, and we still look at the 4-day week that might improve morale for our staff,
Yeah.
and.
Could we?
I think it's absolutely a combination.
Why can't we
Yeah.
be working
Could we
towards all
just
things?
do a
Sure.
smaller portion of what
Yeah.
Chad
Right.
said to get us through,
I-
to do the referendum, or to get us through to approve, get the 4-day workday approved? I don't know, could it just, I know it's a Band-Aid, it's not a perfect fix.
I think you gotta look at it as long-term, short-term though too, right? I mean, like, short-term, you're gonna have to do some cuts, I think we know that, right? We don't have to make it so painful in the short term, because we got an option with cash flow. I think that's what I'm hearing, right? And I agree with that, and then longer term, the structural solution might be the referendum, it might be the online school, it might be trying to steal kids from Cascade, I don't know what it is, right? But I mean,
Good luck.
I mean, look, I mean, I get a thing in my mailbox 3 times a year saying, come to Cascade, I mean, I do, so,
We move county lines,
you know. I mean,
township lines.
but I mean, there's other options, I think, longer term, right? So I do think it's a combination.
Yeah.
I mean, kinda like looking, and I'm not gonna tell you which ones I circled, but, you know, kinda going through, I mean, I've looked and thought, okay, this one doesn't seem too painful, this one's not too, and when I say too painful, I get it's painful. But it's a different kind of pain than, you know, telling people you don't have a job. I mean, nobody wants to do that, right?
Right.
There's a different kind of pain there. You know, that's kinda where my head's at. I think it's a combination. I mean, if we could save, you know, $400,000 on the easier cuts and float 200,000 with the bonds, you know, that might get us to next year to see if we get a referendum or what our enrollment numbers are. What I don't wanna do, like, this is my personal opinion, I'd hate to see us do what Brock said would do, and I think he's right. Big cuts now, next year big cuts, next year after that, big cuts. I'm a believer that if that's really what we're gonna do, we gotta do it once or twice and be done. And then go with the message of, this is what we did, it was extremely painful, everybody hates it, but this is what we gotta move forward with.
And I don't think you wanna use any of the information as a scare tactic
No.
to get something through. But you gotta put the information out there so people know,
Where you at?
guys, this is what we're up against.
Just last week, and I told, Mr. Provo at the restaurant, there was a lady that went to the strategic meeting, and she was saying how much we wanna build this, we wanna build that, we wanna build this. Somebody else sitting at my table, they're not building nothing because they're broke. The school is broke, and she said, how can the school be broke and I'll build this? And you know, because they don't know about the finances.
The two funds.
Absolutely.
You know, they don't know about the finances. We're gonna build this building, but we're broke.
Yeah, you can build it, but you can't staff it.
I think if the referendum way to go, we gotta put the word out now. We got 8 months left.
Yeah.
It's gotta be through by, November. That's 8 months to get the word out, and the word's gotta go first to the big farmers. The big farmers are when it's gonna hurt more. You gotta get them on your side.
But is it gonna hurt them? I don't know, because there's some changes in,
You know, their tax value
I
is
mean,
going down.
so, there's a lot of, in the bill that we've lost a lot of money, they've got some of it. I mean, obviously they need to keep as much of it as possible, but, you know, what does it really look like? Let's get away from what I think it is, or what they, you know, come up with numbers that you can say, oh, this is really what it's gonna cost you. This, you know,
And you're saying that, that's another contracted agency that comes in and spit, and gets those numbers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
policy analytics, that's what they do. They look at your AV, they can dial that down to the exact house a person lives in to see what the tax implication would be for them. Or farmland and that sort of thing.
Chad could probably reaffirm this, that, I think the ones that have been successful statewide never actually talked about the total amount of the referendum. They broke it down, so what each individual taxpayer would be paying.
Correct.
Because if you just throw a $4 or $5 million figure out there, people are gonna lose their minds.
Yep.
that's what I'm saying. Have a little
that's good.
guide. This
You
is,
have a cheat sheet.
this is what it's gonna cost you.
And there's, if you're gonna run a referendum, you put a calculator on your website that anybody can go to, you plug in your information and it will tell you what your taxes will be under that referendum.
So Chad, just, you've probably done this before. You can't wait till November to put it on the ballot. Is it September, the deadline?
Yeah, so the process, Trent and I talked a little bit about this. I mean, if this board decides they wanna do a referendum, we do need to get on it, like, within weeks, like, quickly.
Vote right now.
The process would be, we're gonna have a conversation with Kristen. Kristen will come up with a timeline for you. There are legal requirements that we have to meet. The question has to be certified with the state by a certain day. The question, you guys would all need to become familiar with the question. It's about a paragraph long. Essentially in the question, you are asking the taxpayer to approve a tax rate and a tax levy. Those are maximums. Now, how do we come up with the tax rate and the tax levy? That is work that I would help you guys do. Because when we're asking for maximums, we have to, when you do an operating referendum, it's in place for 8 years. So we have to do a projection of how much revenue, not that we need next year, but we need in 8 years, based on a tax rate and a levy. And what this board is gonna have to decide on, because ultimately that tax rate and that tax levy is what's going in the calculator that you're telling people it's gonna cost you. So the hard thing that you guys are gonna have to work through is, what do you wanna fund with the money? Is it 3% pay raises for every year for the next 8 years? Is it keeping all of what was on the cutting? Is it all of that? Is it adding 5 new teachers, adding 5 new custodians? Is it, and so we basically backwards engineer the financial plan to say, well, if this is where we're at today, and we wanna do all of this for the next 8 years every year, this is the amount of extra money that we need, if that makes sense. And that's the that's the tax rate and the tax levy. Now, the key information that Policy Analytics will give us is that they do an assessed value projection. Now, it's a quantified equation. So it's based on certain assumptions, and they will say between now and the next 8 years, your AV is gonna do this. It's gonna decline by 5%, it's gonna go up by 2%, and then we just then take that, multiply it by the tax rate to get the revenue that we need. So, kind of a long-winded answer to say, we got a lot of work to do. And so if you guys decide this is what you wanna do, we need to know ASAP. That's just the financial side. That's not, like Perry saying, the political, get the message outside. That's a whole nother conversation.
So what's the first step in officially doing that? I mean, like this meeting, we can't make any decisions, or,
Yep.
you know what I'm
Yep.
saying? I mean,
Yeah. So
what is the next step?
Kristen making the timeline.
Which I looked at, it's Wednesdays when we're
So
meeting.
Wednesday we have, she will come up with a timeline, and what I would recommend you guys have her do is have Kristen come, bring the timeline and come to the next board meeting, or have a special session. She'll go over the timeline with you, so you guys know exactly what the timeline looks like. Simultaneously, while that's happening, Policy Analytics can get started on their study. That'll give me the information I need to start backwards engineering the levy and the rate. And so all that could start to happen at the same time.
I just don't see
Whatever
any
Brownsburg
other way.
did about 5 years ago. We passed one and it's,
I don't, if if you're gonna do one, I don't wanna do it for the bare minimum. I want it to do it for success.
Yeah.
I want it to be successful for the school, for the students,
Absolutely.
which will be successful for the town, which will be successful back for people that's paying the bill, which is us as well.
But you have to be kind of careful though, because in 8 years, if you do that, 8 years from now, they could say no, and then
Yeah.
you're in bad shape.
You gotta pay the
Again.
bill.
Once you choose to be a referendum school, we're always a referendum school.
Yep.
Right.
So success has to come with it. I mean,
But we don't
Yeah,
have an option.
absolutely.
I mean, cause like that, I look back when Brownsburg did it. I mean, just looking back at how much that developed, they got one pass and it's like a university over there. I mean, if they don't have 10 wrestlers or whatever going to those schools, I mean, the transfers they get, their facilities. So I would say it's a successful one, but it's a risk going too big, but you can't do one and still look like this and not have anybody coming.
Yeah, I don't think,
Facilities look like crap.
I don't think you want one just to survive, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you want it to, but it can't be like pie in the sky either, because you'll never get a pass. I mean, look, there's gonna be people that are adamantly opposed to this, if we go down that path.
What is considered successful or passing?
Like
Percentage, I mean, it's a majority, is it 50, you gotta have 75%?
51%.
51%.
Yep. Really successful ones, I mean, I've seen 80 to 20, but a lot of times it's 60-ish to 40-ish that pass.
I still think if we put good information out there, sincere information,
Paper ballots.
Monroe's not gonna have a problem passing it. I just don't think.
Does it do anything to like handcuff you with, like still getting bonds and things like that for our projects? So this is just strictly for keeping lights on, operations, things like that?
So, one thing that you have to create when you're on a referendum, you have to create a spending plan to submit it to the state with the question. And in that spending plan, we would itemize what you guys plan to spend it on. It doesn't have to be extremely specific, but whatever we put in there, that's what we wanna spend it on, because when we go back to renew it, we wanna make sure that what we tell the public we're gonna spend it on is what we spend it on. And it could be as simple as teacher salaries and benefits, you know, it could be as simple as that. But that's what we'll spend.
But we need it for more than just teachers' salary and benefits, right? I mean, we need it for operation.
Well, go ahead and tell them what it allows us to do.
That comes back to the messaging part of it.
Yeah.
It's, if we say teacher salaries and benefits, we can pay their salaries and benefits out of that, even if they're existing staff. And that frees up existing dollars, maybe in the ed fund or the operations
Right.
fund, to give us a cushion, if that makes sense.
So for instance, you could do 15% and say we don't transfer the 15%.
Exactly.
So the 15% would increase in
So there's
the one, and you
Yes.
make the other one whole.
Yes.
Or almost $2 million we wouldn't be transferring
Right.
out of the ed fund and the operations fund.
Which would free up the money to do for
Correct.
education.
Correct.
So,
Sign me up.
we can't vote on anything,
Right.
but is there any problem with us asking you to look into the procedure of petitioning for a 4-day school week and all that goes on and
Yeah.
involved in that, the pros and cons, but I think basically it's gonna be, how do we approach DOG on it?
Yeah.
And,
We can start
of
looking
course,
into
that's gonna take some reorganizational things that we have to come up with down the line, but
If we wanna go for the 4-day school week, that waiver, they sent it out last Friday. I think it's been live maybe since January, but they sent it out last Friday. It is due at the latest, I think it was like April 24th or 29th. They then approve them on the DOE board meetings, which only happen once a month. They do it on a rolling basis, and you don't know when that's going to happen. So we did the waiver last year, to like the PD days that were
Right.
no longer e-learning this year. That's what we did last year. That took them 2 to 3 months to approve, just because they do it when they want to do it. They said they'll approve them all by July. So the earlier we get that in and submitted, and we have to have a board resolution signed. So if we're on board of doing this and going for it, then we've got to get a board resolution signed and have our plan, and it's got to be a pretty good plan, to have a chance at all of going for it. So we really gotta get on the ball for that.
I mean, I guess my thought on that is, I mean, that seems really kind of just like knee-jerk reaction to me. I mean, to do it that quickly, I mean, I think that's more part of the longer-term plan than trying to fix it. I mean, I feel like we'd be a recipe for disaster if we tried to do that for this next school year and said, we're gonna do it now and get it approved by April, and, I mean, we don't have buy-in from parents. I don't know, that feels like a
The
disaster.
State Board of Education might look at it the same way. You're applying for this now, and you're gonna plan for this. I'm not saying we don't do it, I'm saying that's how they might look at it.
And ultimately, it's $76,000 in savings. I get the soft benefits, right? And I'm not saying we shouldn't look at it, I just don't think, like, that's not this year's fixed in my mind.
But it wasn't that, I mean, this is just
Yeah.
a planning meeting to throw it out. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it seemed like a pretty big piece of the puzzle.
It basically means that.
Let me
the
ask
bonds
this,
is our
yeah,
options. That's
excuse
our-
me.
I mean, I
that's our
think the
savings.
power-
What about, what about the folks in the audience? You are the one, I'm retired, I'm not doing anything. These guys, they work for a living, but you guys are in the trenches. What's your thought? We haven't really heard, except from Annette, and Perry, as far as,
I just wanna speak, regardless if it's 4-day week or not, we need to look at how we're attracting students and what makes us different in Morgan County and beyond. We're not really, like, we're not bells and whistles right now. We're not showing the public that we have a lot. Of the 18 students that we've lost in the middle school that have withdrawn this year, 8 of them moved out, so can't help those. 4 of them went homeschool. 2 went to Monroe-Gregg Virtual Academy, which meant that we lost funding with it.
But we kept the student. I mean, there's just
We
a
kept the
lower
student
funding, right?
portion of it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we cannibalized our own.
And 4 students went to other Morgan County schools. Of the 18, 8 of them were mental health or behavior concerns. So they went seeking something different, and for whatever reason. I do think we could partner with homeschoolers, and it is another way to try to make us look like we're a traditional school that has traditional values, and maybe that's why homeschoolers are, decide to do homeschool.
It's
4-day
getting
week
big.
would offer a little bit more flexibility for them, but I think we can find ways to market what we're selling better. And I just don't think we're doing it right now, and 4-day week might be one of the things that make us stand out, so.
So if we did the knee-jerk reaction, and said, hey, let's try to do 4 days school next year, what's the big hurdles in doing that? Other than, I mean, you gotta apply and get it accepted, but I mean, is there much of a learning curve? And I know there's gonna be a learning curve to it, but I mean, how hard is it to go from a 5-day to a 4-day?
It's pretty good at work.
I mean, off the top of my head, there's definitely be logistical challenges that we could try to work through. The biggest thing is just that not knowing, like, you could do all the planning in the world for the next few months and not know till July whether they're gonna approve it or not.
But that's gonna be the case, I think, no matter when we do it though, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't come out until January, February every year.
Correct.
And they don't guarantee to approve it until July every year.
And does that fall back onto the admin, I mean, you guys, majority, most of that work falls back on you guys to do?
To get it planned out, how's it gonna work, yes.
Is it doable? Is it even?
Yeah, this is
Huh?
something that.
There was a committee, they worked on it earlier.
yeah. And it's not something that we haven't looked at when we went to eminence.
We had a group of teachers that went out and did research, they looked at other schools, and kind of brought back that information.
I'm not against a 4-day week. You're considering a referendum, which is a big ask. You're also considering an entire community to switch at the same time to a 4-day week.
Right.
That is 2 big asks at the same time. That is my only
Totally agree with
look
Casey.
here on this, is you are asking them for a lot all at once.
And you're gonna have people saying, oh, you're getting a referendum, and they're only working 4 days instead of 5. I mean, like, there's gonna be people who
I
will
am
think
not
that,
against a
no matter
4-day
what.
week. I think if you put the work in and you go through all those details and you iron out what those Fridays look like for those kids, what those childcare options are from here, this is what we're gonna offer, we're gonna offer remediation. All of those details in a really detailed plan, you can sell that. But you're asking us to sell 2 things at the same time, that's my concern. I am not against a 4-day week at all. I am just saying there are two big asks. You're asking community at the same time, and you might have to pick which one you want to ask for.
Andrew, since there's been research done it, you apply for it. When do you have to actually implement it? Can that go for a year?
Usually it's for the next school
Yeah.
year.
Next school year?
Typically
Okay.
it is.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
didn't know if there was a delay that you would
Yeah, I
have
don't
that
know.
additional time.
We could have, I can download the form now, it's the same form as it was last year, and we could spend the entire year working to make sure we have that, so that day one, when it's
Right.
done, we just copy and paste it in there, and then, we go. So that would be what we would have to do if we wanted to do it probably a year from now.
Okay.
I would say that would be nice.
I just feel like
So
in the
on-
short term, the juice isn't worth the squeeze on that one, in my opinion.
I
Like, it's a lot of work, right? And
I agree, I'm all for it, I think it's a really good idea, but I don't think it's something we rush. We definitely did plan that and have,
To Casey's point, if we're gonna go down the route of a referendum, I would caution making any other big changes.
Does that include cutting programming? Because if we lose teachers,
Yeah,
I have to cut programming.
No, I think you guys have to think about all that.
What if you think about it from this viewpoint? If they look at it and say, okay, we are doing everything we can. We've cut our day to 4 days, our teacher, we're gonna do this, this, and this. I mean, maybe you think about it on the flip side, maybe people are more anxious to help us and the referendum goes through because they know we're trying to do everything we possibly can. And why don't we just start with a survey? We just sent one out last week, and it did have that on there. How do you feel about a 4-day week?
Yeah.
I think that was on there, I don't know how they worded it, but we could send that out to our families and see. Maybe 100% of them are gonna say, no way. But how do we know? Maybe we're gonna get back 75% that say, yeah, this is great. From the one school, here in Indiana, it was 50% of the families wanted it, 25% of the families did not want it, and the other 25 said, I don't know. It
Oh, yeah.
depends, like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but they didn't know because they didn't know enough about it.
You gotta have a plan. My
I think
concern
that's
is
the
you
key.
put that out there and you say, hey, let's do a 4-day week, and then they have questions and we go, we don't know.
Yeah, I think, it'd be, to have that, I feel like a lot of, even in our, strategic planning, when we were talking with our tables about it, some of them, when they first heard that, it was an automatic no. But then when you talked about, explained some of the planning and the process and how it would work, a lot of people were like, oh, let's actually,
that one takes some socializing, I think, for
Yeah,
sure.
you have
But
to.
you gotta have it.
Unless you've worked
Yeah.
it.
Right.
I know one good thing about not doing it this year and doing it next year.
You won't be
Yeah,
here.
Great, thanks.
I'll be sitting right out there.
Hey, Chad, just kind of thinking about tax rates in general,
Yes.
right? Do we have any wiggle room there? I mean, I know we've kind of maintained that $1.07 tax rate. I mean, can we go to $1.10, $1.12 and gain some dollars? Just by pure raising the tax rate? I know that's not a 2026 fix, but is there any room there? No.
The only thing that you would gain by deliberately raising the tax rate is doing more bonds. Because the operations fund has a max level.
But it's the 2008 plus the 4%,
Yeah.
compounded year over year for 7
And
years.
so, yeah, we can't get you any more money there. You can do more bonds, do more projects, but you can't get more operational dollars without doing the referendum.
Could you take those bonds, convert it like we were talking about to the taxable municipal?
Which ones?
Like if we raise the rate, could you take the new bond money you could get off that increased rate on the bonds, right? You just said we could get more bond money if we
Yes.
did that, right? Could you take those bonds, issue them as taxable bonds and use that for the one-time plug?
We could,
You could.
but
I mean, it doesn't get anything long-term.
it just doesn't, it doesn't get us anything long term.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you made a good point on trying to do too much at one time.
What about like, what's our projections on the online school? I know we did that kind of as a money maker, right? We're trying to attract students and things. What are we getting in feedback there? I mean, I don't know what our enrollment in it's and that. I haven't really heard much interest in it. I mean, I
It's
really haven't
not
heard much
real
about it
big,
at all.
I think. I can't remember what list they told me. It's
Whatever Martin's.
The
less than 15 kids.
The feedback I've got on it is kind of similar to what Kevin was talking about earlier, that it's just, it doesn't, a lot of people go to homeschooling because it's more adaptive to their schedules. But they said ours is more or less still sitting in class, but sitting in front of your computer. They said if it was more sensitive to their, to they can take the classes when they want, their schedules, they would be more inclined to.
Yeah, that's what, I couldn't believe that many kids were leaving Plainfield to go to Martinsville's. And I was like, why are you going to Martinsville? He's like, well, it's just, it's only the online there. And the kids are, I mean, they're pretty responsible, you know, I mean, I guess the parents would obviously would know what the kid could handle, but, I mean, for him this year, he said there was 3 other of his buddies down there, and they're getting to like work hands-on somewhere they want to for 2 days a week, and.
Is there a play
Not
with like
nothing.
the micro school? I think Eastern Hancock does. I know. Do we think there's any kind of play there?
Not
I don't know
sure.
exactly what that even means. I
Yeah,
just know they have a program there and they're getting a lot of students.
I haven't looked into a lot of that, of what that entails, so I can, yeah, I need to look into that more.
You know, like there has to be a physical building and
Right.
schedules are much. I think they might be the only one in the state doing it, but I've heard it's very
Yeah, it's
successful
like
there.
it's a pilot, yeah.
I mean, I've heard they've got tons and tons of enrollment there. Again, it's not a fix soon, but it can be
Yeah,
part
I
of
mean,
the
all
long
those
term,
kind of
right?
ideas are, I think we're gonna see more of those percolate over the next 4 or 5 years.
Knowing that other schools are gonna be in kind of the same boat real soon, or I feel like they are, is there places we could partner with other schools and save some additional funds? I mean, can you share some, I'm not a consolidation, I'm just saying like some resource sharing.
Yeah.
Is that an option that we could explore?
You can buy material through the state.
I knew that.
Back when Daniels was governor, that was one of the things he was pushing, was for all state agencies, which schools are in a sense, to buy through the state with the cost of, you know, with bulk buying, you can get it much cheaper, you know. So.
And I guess I'm thinking, and look, I'm way over my skis, but I was thinking that some of the schools kind of to the west of us kind of share some special ed resources and things like that to save quite a bit of money. Is that something we could explore as well? And I don't know how it works. I just have heard that.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong. So if you guys have heard something different, let me know.
I think it's just getting other schools working with you, and that's just such a new, I mean, on the special ed thing,
Yeah.
not so much, but I'm thinking like, maintenance, you know, different things like that. Are there possibilities, you know, scales of economy that you could get there, maybe?
I'm just thinking like, the way it sounds is every school's gonna be facing the
Yes.
same problem in the next year and a half, right? Like, again, it doesn't help in the short term, but longer term, is there an opportunity to do some partnering and leverage, you know, some shared resources?
The vast majority of school boards are having the same conversations right now, I can assure you of that, unfortunately.
Any other revenue generating thoughts? I mean, obviously we got referendum, we just talked about tax rates, which doesn't give us much.
Sales.
Online schools, things like that. Just the marketing, I think, is the big one.
Does anybody have good news? Any good news out there? Did I hear any good news?
I think the Dow was up today.
Weather
Or
is
it's closed.
improving.
Did it close? Oh, that's right, that's right, the President's Day. So it's okay. My investments are okay.
So what do next steps look like? What do you need from us and how are we gonna think? I mean, like, you threw out a lot of ideas, right? We
So-
probably got 5 different ways we would do this, plus you got one and you guys all have your
We'll
own.
have that meeting on Wednesday with Kristen, I think, getting her, see if she can come to the next board meeting. Andrew and I can definitely look at getting the application for the waiver, knowing that we still need a plan if we're gonna look at that. If it's a year from now, at least we have the application, we know how we can plan for that. We can work on that.
How quickly can we issue those?
Well,
Because we just issued one, can we do that?
you can, so the only downfall is that we have to make sure your 2027 debt service tax rate is not over 0.6999. Or you cannot issue any bonds next year, and you guys have been going through this facility plan. So that's why we did the authorization last year. So long story short, ideally, we have to do it in the fall, once we have your assessed value. So we know your AV, it's the only variable we don't have to calculate your AV.
So if AV goes up and tax, the
Then we know exactly what the payment
it changes the bottom
needs to be to
number.
get you a .6999.
Yep.
You could issue them right now. I mean, we could start the process now and have the money in 4 or 5 months. But I can't guarantee the .699 tax rate for 27. If you guys say we don't wanna issue any debt in 27, then it doesn't matter. But I know we've been doing the facility study, working with Schmidt.
Don't we have bonds falling off from
You,
over there?
you do, you do.
Which is gonna be like,
Yes. So,
so I don't think you wanna tie your hands that way.
I think we
wouldn't
should, if you guys decide you wanna do it, get everything done and be ready to execute September, October, as soon as we get AV. Sell within the next week.
And I can let you know how the phone call goes with policy analytics, and I can let you guys know what that cost is for them to do their study, like what, 12,000. So,
I'm just gonna again throw out that sense of urgency. As soon as we get that, I think there's gonna have to be a meeting scheduled, probably maybe by the end of February. And just, some hard decisions need to be made about what are we gonna fund, all those kind of things if we go down the road of the referendum, so.
Right, but in the meantime, we still got other decisions we have to make regardless if you go referendum or not.
probably, yeah.
And
I mean, to survive this year.
Yes.
if they're gonna make cuts, don't we kinda want some of those to happen sooner rather than
I
later?
guess that's my other question, like, I mean, we talked, like, this is this much
it's gonna
annually, right, but we're 2 months into the year, so. I mean, are we thinking like, okay, if we do it in June, then it's half that amount, right? I mean, it's, like, some of these things, I mean, these numbers go down the farther we get every month,
Absolutely.
right? They go down by
Retirement
1/12.
numbers, I mean, we don't know that yet.
So we can't even make it through the end of this school year? I know it's a half a year, I get it, but I mean, I didn't realize this was stuff
I don't know if
we were
it's
gonna be
this,
doing.
I said school year, I don't know if I meant that. Fiscal,
Yeah.
calendar
Yeah.
2026.
Yeah, fiscal year, we'd be hurting if we don't do anything.
I guess my
Can we
point,
make it through the school year without cutting anything? Yeah.
I guess my point was, you
It's
know, if
gonna
I
catch
added
up with us again.
It's gonna catch up with us,
I
but,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, if I added up 300,000 to savings and we wait till June, it's really
150.
300, yeah, it's 150
Yeah.
this year.
Yep.
It's half of it.
Yeah. That's where I was going.
But we're not cutting this semester.
No, I get that, I'm just saying, like,
No.
well, there's some things you could maybe change now,
We made
so.
cuts last year. We made cuts. Yeah, so then, we did make cuts, it's not like we started this year when we had made them.
I guess I'm still not sure what the next action for us is. Do you want us to send you some feedback on these ideas, or are we gonna
That
have
would
another
be
meeting, or
helpful.
what's, kind of, what are you looking for?
I need feedback on what we discussed tonight, kind of what you're thinking there.
Per diem.
I mean, obviously, we're gonna be, all the other things I said I'm gonna do with Kristen and Barry, policy analytics, but big thing is, yeah, getting feedback on what your feeling is on how much you're wanting to cut versus knowing that we might be doing a referendum.
You can't do the bond thing, you kick the can down the curb and the referendum, we gotta do the cuts.
Well, it's gonna be
Yes, you
hard to
could.
get the money, right, from the,
No, you can do the bond thing regardless of the
Yeah,
referendum.
you could.
Those have nothing to do with each other.
Right.
But it buys, I thought it was buying us time
Buys you a
to
little bit of
operate as
time.
we are, sell a referendum and hope
Yeah, I
and pray
think
it goes
the
through.
downside is, and what I looked at today, you can only run a referendum on the even number June. So either you do it 26 or you don't wait until 28, and the 2 or 3 million that we could get from the bond just does not get us there. So,
So I guess what Brock's asking though is, in the fall, if we issue the non-tax exempt bonds, can we make, tell me if I'm wrong, can we make like very minimal to no cuts? Do those bonds to help us get us through until a possible referendum?
in 26?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, that's,
When you're most concerned about the cuts, are you mainly talking about the perf? I mean, that's the one that's probably most, because some of them are just gonna be retirements and then just not filling those roles, so that can always be something that we work on down the road. But I mean, the immediate items on here that I see being immediate impact to people would be the perf, the things like that. I mean, a lot of our notes are the 4-day week. We don't know how that's gonna go down. But there's not a whole lot of cuts on here that's gonna really hammer immediately that I don't see. Maybe talking about the alternative ed, the MIT program and things like that, but a lot of it I think was perf. Am I wrong? And then not filling those positions after retirement. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of.
That's the big ones probably.
So I can see the perf argument because I think once you go down that road, that's hard to reverse, right? I mean, if you go ahead and if you take people out, you have them
Resolution
vested.
and get back in. I mean, we did it at Eastern actually. But
Because I feel like you could still do some, and then maybe still use some of that bond revenue to cover some of the others and just see.
Kind of thinking about the perf thing too. Could you not offer it for new people? I know that doesn't get you the new numbers, but is it all or nothing?
It's all or nothing.
You can't do like they do some other things and say new people. Because it's one thing to take something away from somebody, another if they never had it, right, is I guess where I was going with that.
I just know I have a perf, or we get a perf, and I just couldn't imagine losing it.
you're
I
not
mean,
gonna,
that's-
again, they're not gonna
I'm-
lose, they're gonna become vested.
It just doesn't grow.
It just doesn't,
Yeah.
they're years
Or
of
we don't
service.
contribute. It'll still grow.
I don't-
They can they
It-
still?
It's a pension, so it's based on your years of service.
Right.
And so what they're going to get won't really grow because their years of service
Right.
won't continue.
Gotcha.
But they're not gonna lose anything that we've already put in there for
I
them.
would be interested to see how many we have at 85 points already, and how many we have at, how many people's worked here for 3 or 4 years and they're 30, so they got 35 points, versus people that's got 85 or they're 60. Is it 60 years and 15 years of service
For us, it's 10 years, correct me if I'm wrong.
to be vested? But you have to
Yeah.
be, you can't draw until you're 60 or something, right?
Have the 85, rule of 85. Teachers have to be 55 and have the 85.
Whatever it is. I'm just trying to say, how many does this really affect?
I think I'm in the same camp as you, Brooke, on this one. Like the perf one really hurts. I mean, like
It hurts,
that's
but
my
it's a
lead.
huge
I get it's a
expense.
big expense, but it's also really a crappy thing to do, I think, as an employer. I mean, like I get it, and maybe that's the hard choice we gotta get to. But for me, I'd like to explore
Like
another
I said,
option
it's-
before I
it
get to
all
that.
affects me. I totally get it.
Or maybe it's the fact that on perf, they're gonna make $800 a month, but through the new retirement thing, other option, maybe they're gonna make $1,500 a
Right.
month. I mean, maybe they'll make more for it.
The contribution to
don't
the
know.
403B.
Here's the deal, to cut perf away, so somebody coming in who's gonna be 25, 30 years old starting to work. And
Right.
you say, we're gonna match up to 6%. Well, I'm only gonna put 2% because that's all I can afford. But with perf, you gotta put 3%. When I come here, I told Christy Carter, I don't want perf. I plan to work here 5 years and I was gonna retire. And she
How'd that work
told me
out?
I did not have a choice. You have to
Because
put
he didn't.
3% in.
Yeah.
So I did it, and look, now I've got my 10 years in right now.
See, that's what kept him here.
But, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, if you're just starting your family at 30 years old and you're working here, man, that 6%, that's a lot, maybe I'll just put 2% in. The other way, they force you to put 3%, you have no choice. You know what I'm saying? So, we all know how it was when we first started with families, you needed every dime you could get.
So Mariah, did you guys do this at Eastern Green? You got rid of it?
A few
Previous superintendent
superintendents
took them
got
out
it.
of it,
took them out of it.
and
yeah.
then we brought it back just for a, certain,
Just for salaried,
yeah.
full-time salaried people only.
Which would be
I would
bus
not be in
drivers.
favor of that,
That
for
is,
sure.
that's just, yeah, that hurts.
I would not do
It's
that.
like telling you your aides and your other people aren't as important as.
Well, it happened because we were starting a police force and we couldn't
Yeah.
get a police officer to come if they weren't in perf.
Yeah.
So it was but we didn't have it for probably 8, 10 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Could we also look at, our enrollment's kind of going back to where it was 4 or 5 years ago, I'm guessing, right? And we've added positions in the last 4 or 5 years. Can we take a look at all those positions we've added as well and see, you know, like, look, we might have to retract to 2018 levels, right? And we know it was absorbed then. We might need to take another look at that now too, in my thought.
You know, but the crazy thing, we
look back at our highest enrollment, and everybody wanna know why Brownsburg's growing, why Avon's growing. Our highest enrollment that we've had here, cause I had Manette pull it for me. Does anybody know when our highest enrollment was? We had 2 years, we're within the 500s.
Right, he's talking about just the high school.
Just the
high school.
High school enrollment.
I'm sure
only.
Mike
Back
knows.
in the 80s.
So that was in 2016 and 2017, I'm 15. And what we do that year,
State.
we won the football state. So what happened when we won football state, our numbers growed in every, not one class, but freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, they grow to about 40 to 50 students per class.
Oh, the transfer thing's crazy with sports.
That's
It's
correct.
it's unreal.
Just because everybody wants to be part of a winner, so they come here.
What they say at Brownsburg, that 90% of the high school wrestlers are don't even live in Brownsburg.
None of the 8 kids that made the state finals last
Or,
year.
no, they're all from.
I mean, I agree with the
Tri-West.
math there, but I'd wanna see a little more data before I would make the assumption that you just made, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if it directly translates or if it's just, there's a baby boom. I mean, I don't know, right? Like,
I mean, I felt
like we
it.
had one big class that went through, right? And
No,
when
you-
they graduated, we lost a lot of
So,
students.
What we did, you can see how many we had as a freshman, how many we had as a sophomore, how many we had as a junior, and how many we had as a senior.
Right.
I had
So-
6 transfers just for wrestling. We
But-
were even that
So
good.
we have a graph that was done, and I don't know if
One
Mike
year.
did it or what, but I ran across it the other day when Perry was talking about this. So yeah, we can get you a
Yeah.
copy of that and you can see, and it was put out based on the
Yeah.
fact that we grew
No.
because of athletics.
I completely agree we grew in those years. I just
those
don't
are the
know if I
parents that are
tie
really
it
mean.
directly to that. I mean, you also are losing students, right, for other reasons. I mean, it's like, you gotta look at both sides of that equation, is what I'm saying, right? You got students leaving for academics and other reasons too.
I think anytime you have something positive going into school, whether it's winning a state
Yeah.
title for
Yeah.
football or your education's really
Really
doing
good.
great,
Guess what?
you're gonna see an
Yeah.
influx of students. And as soon as it kinda, it goes back down, you're gonna
But-
lose them.
but the culture
So
with parents are
think-
right now
I
with
think there's a
sports.
lot to the positive energy of
Yeah, I don't.
good news bringing people to you. I think,
That's true.
I don't know how you'd
It's
ever-
athletics. Any kid
Yeah.
that-
Yeah, I mean, it's
that
anything
makes
that's
us stand
going
out or
good.
Makes us look good, like what Brandy was saying. We need to, we don't have anything right now that we can even sell out there to get people to come here.
that's why we need that referee.
Wow factor.
Yeah, we need a wow factor.
So Perry, I want you working with the junior league again and building back up, all right?
Yeah.
Now, isn't that how it starts in the? Yeah.
Yeah, it was the transfer thing's right. Ain't nobody dated no more.
Well, I want to thank all of you for being here. I know all of you have had a long day. All I did was sit in the doctor's office, so, you know, no hard work there, but I appreciate all your effort and all the meetings that you've been in.
Absolutely.
So,
And I definitely appreciate the communication, both sides. I know a couple school board meetings ago, we had a lot of talking. I thought that was healthy, you know? I mean, I encourage
Yes.
information, and I appreciate it, so.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's easy to look for the numbers, but like, I don't know the other side of that, right? I mean, everything's a trade-off. There's benefits and downside, and we're trying to make the biggest impact financially with the least impact education and on the facility and on people's lives. And that's kind of the magic sauce, I guess, so.
The hard part is I still struggle understanding how we're here, just, you know, it's unfair, I think, you know, but I don't know.
Just out of curiosity, Chad, what happened? I mean, like, what happened in 22 that everything started going south?
Well, the big thing that has happened is that the 60 kids that we've lost over the last 2 count periods. No pay raises were given, but that wasn't necessarily the issue. It's losing 60 kids. That is a substantial amount of money. Paired with Senate Bill 1 that was just passed.
But that just happened.
No,
You
yeah,
see
but that's
the
part
thing,
of our
look at the
projection.
chart. We've been
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of our protection.
But we did, I mean, we gave substantial raises, and I think when we gave them, I mean, I'll speak for me, I mean, I think we knew there was some risk, and we were expecting enrollment to continue to increase. I mean, we were looking around and you see 50 houses being built at a time, you think things are going up, so there's a little bit of gamble there. I still think it's the right decision from my perspective. You know,
I think numbers were going up at that point, so.
I mean, I don't think we went pie in the sky, but I mean, we
Yeah.
knew we had some things we had to do. We had to get to 40,000, and we decided to go a little higher to compete.
We had to stay competitive. We had to get competitive.
And it, look, I'd stand by the decision now. I think it's, you know, it's still the right decision, but the revenue side hasn't played out like we thought with the spend side. I mean, that's what I think. You know, if you'd have that vote back, maybe it's a mistake. Maybe we should have halved it, right? But you don't get that. You had to make it at the time.
Where do we think the 60 kids went? I mean, that's a substantial number.
Yeah, we can give you guys a breakdown of that.
All the districts have lost kids. All the surrounding districts have also lost kids, it's just
It's
population.
the voucher program too, really hurt us.
Mooresville's
Well, if I
lost.
recall, we're net positive on transfers.
You were.
Were we not
We
now?
were, we're
I
not.
would imagine with this recent count, we're not.
Yeah.
Because we were
You were.
net
We
positive.
were, and then we started looking at stuff and we were creeping toward even,
Even.
and I would say this last count, we're probably might be
Our
down.
transfers in have been declining.
Right.
But just think if we didn't have any, have the ones we have.
Oh, yeah, we'd be even worse.
Yeah, it'd be worse.
So our numbers, you said that just happened where you got the new numbers, right?
Yeah, we just certified them last week,
So
late
is
last
that
week.
from early graduation, or is that people leaving?
Partly from early graduation.
Yeah,
A combination of all of that.
yep.
So the DOE will put out a report in the next probably 4 or 5 months that will tell us where they came from, where they went. all of
I think 12 or 13 were early graduation, so about half, and then half were just going elsewhere.
Well, according to, if you read your ISBA news, a lot of schools, I mean, Vigo County, loss of students are going to combine the high schools into one.
Noblesville's cutting 3 million in staff.
So it's big and little, but
Those were caught in that one, that they can't apply for a referendum.
Right, so their referendum's running out and they can't renew it in 26.
According to Andrew Finney and Greg Chastain, which is at Noblesville, they're in that boat because they can't reapply for their referendum.
Right.
And according to Andrew Finney, they're in the same boat.
Yeah.
Because they can only buy that referendum on even year, and I guess you still apply for it every year, or whenever yours.
Yeah, whenever they ran out.
I mean, I think the other thing that's weird about this area is like, think about what we'd be like without the homestead too, right? If we're running 7 buses down there, that's 40 kids a bus roughly, right? You're taking 250 kids there, which means like the rest of the county or the rest of the 2 districts is really contracting, right, from where it was.
And we did that demographic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it said
And they
that we were the
and they
highest birth
promising us-
rate in the county.
Promising us the world, like it was
The
like this,
Yeah.
and it's
But if you,
180 degrees.
but if you look at on just my road, Judson Drive, when I was in school, I bet you 90% of them houses had at least 2 kids.
Yeah, now they don't.
Get on school bus, and I bet you there's not
Right.
3 houses that have any kids get on school.
Yeah,
It's-
I think like outside of the homestead neighborhood, like the population's
Kids all
kind of
grown up.
aged and there's a lot less
Yeah.
kids, right?
There's no kids there. Well, does anybody else have public comment?
I do, but I'm not gonna make it.
We have a motion made by Mr. Kazee,
Second.
by Mr. Elliott. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like